So here be a test stream. Apparently these streams are working, not in the YouTube app, the mobile app, but they are working on mobile in a browser. Apparently here Cheetah be at the Eclipse Lodge in West Vinewood.
I was hoping we could continue the conversation we had the other day about my proposal. Greetings.
That the flare gun?
What the fuck?
I need to check online and see when those armored trucks spawn. Money bags.
What brings you in today?
And then also need to see about purchasing one of those dump trucks. They're 100% bulletproof, at least from the ground.
Thanks for your business. A car's on its way.
Those dump trucks be found somewhere over here. Say Davis and Davis Avenue. Bottom left. Cheetah, see if...
Where are you going?
They sell that dump truck.
Not a problem.
Gave you your number at the bar last night?
Here, like an extra large dump truck. This is the one I bought. Something going on. There's something about driving a vehicle with wheels that are bigger than you.
You were pretty drunk.
The heavy dump doesn't let traffic get in its way, and a sport box bed with an 80-ton capacity, that's a whole lot of mic. I'm not going to say that. What the price? $1 million? Come on, that's all I have is $1 million. When I say me, I mean Cheetah. I'm not looking for that dump truck, I'm looking for that other one. I don't think it's for sale. It's just not me for sale. I almost bought the stretch limousine instead of the rental shuttle. This is an outrage.
Yeah, what's going on here?
None of these beds are big enough to take cover in. And for some reason, I've never seen there's armored. That looked like an armored recon. That one at the top left. This looked like an armored recon, but still, it has a tiny little bed. There's no way to hide in that. Cheetah could climb in the back of this and crouch. I'll have to see if that works. I don't think it will. Where Cheetah be though?
Hey man, what's up? My new website covers all three of my careers. Absolutely! Solid. My local valley. Ooh, wait! That's a ride!
Downtown Cab Company. That'd be downtown. Look at that Full Metal Jacket scene that I mentioned. Call it just typing. I can't remember what I called it.
Set to get shipped out on a medical. What's that?
I think I was gonna pull up a full concert. I don't think that a dump truck. No, not.
Here we are, friend.
She not able to, well, maybe she is able to do that? Hamburger Hill. They're the hamburger, they're the hill. That's a douche. That's a douche. Hamburger Hill.
Hey, fuckface!
You're like, what going on?
you see in the movie Finding Nemo, which is kind of weird.
Oh, whoa.
They were playing this classic kind of review of songs that had been in movies over the years. It was a radio thing they were doing, and the announcer gets on and goes, and now this one back from 1970. All of a sudden it came on here, breaker one night. I was kind of flashback. I'm not kidding. Like, it was like all of a sudden I could see my behind his head, and he had this bright red 1972 Pontiac Parisienne with white patent leather seats. And he had this orange 8-track tape. For those of you who don't know what 8-track tape is, it's like an MP3, but it's just a little bit. So he goes, son, you're gonna love this one. And he plugs it in, and I turned to Liz, I go, you remember this one, right? Like, I mean, this is machine I've never heard before. But I'm like, okay, well, what do you think? Like, should I do it? Because you're a fast-talking redneck, I think you can pull it off, you know? So we put it on a project, and we thought we would perform this for you. Now, I have to say, you have not lived until you've heard a trucking classic like Convoy with the Philharmonic Orchestra. So
I'm not gonna wear them. Just for a dimming lens.
You got a copy on me, Big Ben? Come on. Yeah, 10-4, Big Ben, for sure. By golly, it's clean, clear the flag now. Come on. Yeah, it's a big 10-4 there, Big Ben. Yeah, we definitely got the front door good, buddy. First, 6 alive. Looks like we got us a convoy. It was a dark of the moon on the 6th of June in a Kenworth full of logs. Camel for feet with a reefer on and a jimmy hauling hogs. We was heading for there on I-101 about a mile out of Shaky Town. I says, Big Ben, this here's a rubber duck, and I'm about to put the hammer down. Little convoy rocking through the night. Yeah, we got a little convoy, ain't she a beautiful sight? Join our convoy, nothing in my way. Gonna roll this tin convoy across the USA. Yeah, bring the Big Ben, this here's a duck. Now, you want to back off them hogs? They had 10-4 about 5 miles or so, 10 on the rock. Now, them hogs is getting the intense up here. By the time we got into Tulsa town, we had 85 trucks and all. But there's a roadblock on the clover leaf, and them bears is wall to wall. It ain't something to sing his bucks on the bumper. It had a bear in the air. I says, come on, all trucks, this here's a duck. We about to go up on there. Great big convoy rocking through the night. Yeah, we got a great big convoy. Ain't she a beautiful sight? Join our convoy, nothing gonna get in my way. Gonna roll this tin convoy across the USA. Yeah, you wanna give me a 10-9 on that, Big Ben? Negatory, Big Ben, you're still too close. Yeah, them hogs are starting to close up my silences. Mercy sakes, you better back off another 10. Interstate 44 like a rocket set on the rails. We tore up all the horses and sheets and left and setting on the scale. Dash shop town and bears are getting smart. They brought up some reinforcements from the Illinois National Guard. There's tanks and jeeps and rigs of every size. And it's full of bears, showers fill the skies. We shot the line and went from over the valley stream trucks. And the living on here friends of Jesus and the sharks in the spot. Yeah, Rubber Duck, the shot buster, come over. Hit 10-4 shot buster. Listen, you don't put that Michael Wilson behind that suicide jockey. Now he's hauling dynamite, and he's all the hell he can get. Over the trail, the shore, beard across the line. I can see the bridge is lined with bears, but I didn't have a doggone house. I said, here's a Rubber Duck. Say, ain't gonna pay no toll. Just crashing
Dumbass.
Just be like a baby monitor trying to test the stream. I can't believe the stream working I know I've heard that before.
Dumbass.
Well, I think long way. Jump off here.
No way!
That not good. I have no idea what that password would be. I made that account for a friend over 10 years ago. Google, YouTube, tell me. YouTube, tell me what songs about driving. I read an article this morning that said the network's going down. Here's someone's playlist. Appreciate the network.
That ain't fair.
But T, baby, I'm just trying to tell you I care about you.
You care about yourself. I need someone real in my life. We wasted years on this bullshit and you still the same. I want a family. I need some security in my life. Goodbye, Franklin.
Shit.
No Scrub Live. $99.99. No Scrubs Jay Leno. Busta.
Always talking about what he wants and just sits on his broke ass. So no,
I'm not sitting on my broke ass.
I
No.
don't wanna give you mine and no, I don't wanna meet you nowhere. No, don't want none of your time and no, I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging on the passenger side, that's right. Trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging on the passenger side, that's right. But this game is kinda weak, and I know that it cannot approach me. You like class and it's the church can't give what I'm having as a soul. I don't wanna give you mine and no, I don't wanna meet you nowhere. None of your time.
What's shaking? Hey! Hola!
Oh my god!
Here's DVD, yo.
Get out of here. I know the drill, okay? Calm down. I can't go any faster. That's every last cent, I swear.
Cheetah run fast. Cheetah pass out. Cheetah wake up. I hope Cheetah don't see me here. Cheetah say, what are you still doing here? What are you still doing here?
I don't believe this!
Put it to the impound. No.
How much extra is a personal trainer?
to let you know I can make it to the Brazilian mixer tonight.
The Brazilian mixer be at Detroit Rock City Live.
Motherfucker! What was that? Do it! I got the bag!
traitorous bastard. The Annihilator!
There's no way out!
LSPD!
Greetings.
Is Dad there? Tell him I want my $20 back. I want to hit a...
Okay, there it is. Oh shit, not good. Okay, I'm trying. There's no need to shout. I'm doing my best. There goes a family vacation.
What's up now, though? I don't know. I'm retreating from Australia there. And that is because, well, I'm playing this game because the network gone down again. Try to log in. It not be working. Okay, it be working. I lost that space and Gray getting attacked in Africa. Yellow is the one who took my Spain territory, and Yellow be the most aggressive player, but he has the smallest amount of territories. Attacked Yellow. Yellow gonna get wiped out. Very vulnerable there. Eastern Europe is just the only vulnerable place I have now. I never play a lot of these games. I mean, one's only like 200 megabytes, so 100 megabytes. That was like the last sales that the PlayStation Store had on PS3. Wow, Gray has taken over almost the entire south. And now it's just my territory in Madagascar down there at the bottom middle. What's the song though? YouTube, show me video results for Pinky and the Brain theme. Here we go. Oh no.
I will alter this equipment and enlarge myself to become a 400-foot tall mouse who will save the world from Gollizilla.
But you just said there was no such thing as Gollizilla, Brain.
There is now Pink. Should I say Pinkzilla?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Blue did just do that.
See? You've already saved us an entire evening. Tremendous. Forget that plan. Take a look at this one.
Where's my cards though?
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Brain, but the rockets? I mean, it's mostly...
Where are my cards?
Pinky, aren't we rodents stigmatized enough already? We will sneak into the radio station, taking the place of the mist, so I can broadcast my genuine mental powers to millions of listeners, befogging their minds until they make me their leader.
I think so, Brain, but pants with horizontal stripes make me look chubby.
If I put myself on that plaque, the aliens will recognize me as Earth's leader.
That Brain, I can hardly recognize you
Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering?
now. Well, I think so, Brain.
I like the
Pantyhose are so uncomfortable in the summertime.
real-time
The money.
strategy
We'll get it
versions
from the
on
U.S. government.
StarCraft.
First, we establish a bogus nation. Then, we build the State Department out of a huge foreign aid. Geography is pitiful. I think we're part of the former Soviet Union or Canada. Yes, that's it. Pinky, are you pondering what I'm pondering? We shall use a weapon of great stealth, power, and corruption. Our own system.
But first you'd have to take that.
Pinky, they think I'm Napoleon.
That's not isn't it?
Narf.
Yes, Pinky, this is it. Look,
Elves wanted for Holiday Rush. Apply North Mall.
pondering what I'm pondering.
It's okay, but hard.
Elves, Pinky. Santa's workshop is the most productive manufacturing facility in the world.
Apply North Pole to the elves.
Pinky, right now your brainwaves are giving the amazing Kreskin a pounding headache.
Here we go.
Pondering what I'm pondering.
I think so, Brain. But Snowball for Windows?
No, Pinky, he's beaten us. Snowball has taken over the world.
I got signed out again.
Of course, cows are sacred. To go anywhere. You're pondering what I'm disguise ourselves as a cow.
North! That was it exactly! Horribly inconvenienced.
That's brilliant, Sancho Pinky. Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
I think so, Doctor. Why would Sophia Loren do a musical?
A worthy enigma, Sancho Pinky. But a more pressing concern occupies my superior intellect. If we
I wonder if there anything streaming about
to their knees as they grow.
YouTube search result videos today about PlayStation Network news. Here, a 2-hour video about someone saying it.
PS4 server status latest. PlayStation Network maintenance error hits PSN down. Reports offloading in right now.
What happened to my territories?
PlayStation Network maintenance error. Here is the PSN server status latest for today. PSN down. Reports are on the rise. Thousands of PS4 gamers facing issues with the PlayStation Network servers. Independent outage monitored out detected.
YouTube search results last hour.
PSN down reports, with PS4 gamers reportedly receiving a maintenance error when they try to log in. Down detector stats show.
Tagging my videos with PlayStation Network. No one even been knocked out yet. Gray about to get knocked out. Or black. YouTube video search how to play Risk.
Hello and welcome to How to Play Risk, presented by Gather Together Game. Risk.
Gather together, the more the merrier.
To How to Play Risk, presented by GatherTogetherGames.com.
Great ass.
General concepts of games. Digging into more of the details for the game. The game is played with 3 to 5 players. Each player will select an army to play with. An army consists of infantry equal to 1 troop, cavalry equal to 5 troops, and artillery equal to 10 troops. Players will start with a certain number of infantry and players in the game. In this 5-player example, each player will set aside 25 infantry. Each player rolls a die. The highest roller is first to place 1 infantry onto a territory on the board. Indigo has the highest roll and places an infantry on Greenland. Play moves left to Orange, who places an infantry on New Guinea. Play continues to move left with players adding 1 infantry to an unoccupied territory. Skipping ahead, once all the territories are occupied by 1 infantry, players will begin to add infantry to their occupied territory. Argentina. Play continues left. They do not need to be evenly distributed among their territories. To finish the setup, the Risk territory cards are shuffled and placed to the side. The object of the game is to eliminate all other players' troops and occupy all territories on the board. On your turn, you'll choose a territory to attack, and dice are used to determine the outcome of the battle.
Cower dice.
The player that plays the game player. A player's turn begins with receiving troops and passing them on. A player will multiply and divide it by 2. The result is the number of troops received, ignoring any remainders. Indigo has 9 territories. Divided by 3 equals 3 new troops to place on any territory already occupied. Once the new troops are added, the player can choose a bordering territory or territory connected by a sea line. Indigo decides to attack eastern United States from eastern Canada. The attacking player will move 1, 2, or 3 troops into the territory being attacked. The defender can have 1 or 2 troops defend. The attacker and defender will roll a number of dice equal to the number of troops. Indigo will roll 3 troops. Orange will roll 2 dice for the 2 troops. The battling players will roll the dice at the same time. The highest rolled dice are compared. The next highest rolled dice are compared too. The lowest rolled die for the attacker is ignored. Both of Indigo's dice are higher than Orange's dice. The Orange troops are defeated and returned to their owner. After a successful attack, the attacker can Starts by receiving troops. Orange has 8 by
This
the player
not be good.
is under 3, but a player always gets a minimum of 3 troops no matter how few territories a player has. Additional troops are received. Orange occupies all territories in Australia. The amount of troops received is listed on the board, 2 for Australia. Orange places
I'm definitely the weakest player.
Occupied territories. Orange decides to make an attack, and then continues as previously explained. Some additional battle examples will be covered at the end of this video. The player no longer occupies any territories. They are out of the game. Here, blue loses their last territory and is knocked out of the game. The first player to capture all the territories wins the game. If an attacking die and a defender die, the defender wins. At any time, the infantry troop receive additional troops at the beginning of a turn by trading in a set of territory cards. A set of territory cards are 3 cards with the same troop design, 3 cards with 1 of each troop design, or 3 cards with 2 of the same troop design and 1 wild card.
53.
The amount of troops received depends on whether they trade in. The first player to trade in a troop receives 4 additional troops. The next player to trade in a set
That'd be stupid though.
is the troops received. Each traded in set receives 5 more troops than the previous set traded in. If a player trades in a set of cards that includes a territory they occupy, the player gets to add 2 additional troops to the matching territory. Here.
YouTube video.
Control properly are their eyes. Tonight we report on the eye control computer.
And we meet Ray and Sam, blown up in Northern Ireland and is now blind. Yet can use a spectator computer as efficient as a sighted person and much more efficient than me.
And I go racing at Silverstone.
And don't forget to put your busy.
Again. This is my brother Peter, Mom and Dad, and I'm Dasha. Today we're going to be showing our friends Andrew and Lisa the basics of the internet. And
I gotta go unimpound that vehicle again?
Now here's a little background. When we installed internet access on our computer, I got the whole family involved.
It's true, everybody had their own tasks to do.
It was a lot of work, but it was really worth it.
Now that I've gotten on the internet, I'd rather be on my computer than doing just about anything. It's really cool. The internet gave us a whole world of exciting new possibilities. So I guess this is a story of how it changed our lives. Maybe it will yours too. The Kid's Guide to the Internet. Take a spin down your head. Move on. You go on surfing on the internet. As Rich told you, we installed the internet on our computer just a short time ago, and I haven't been able to get the kids off it ever since.
Not only do they play the typical computer games,
No, damn it.
curiosity for learning has skyrocketed. Peter is constantly quoting sports statistics, and you can tell your best surfing spots around the globe.
Not to mention the improvement in Peter's grades, and Dasha's too. Having the internet in our home has had a great impact on our lives. Rich keeps up with the stock market and our investments, and I'm able to pay the bills in half the time it used to take me. And the kids are improving in their grades and communication skills.
Which makes me happy, as I would sure like them to go to college someday.
Don't worry, though. It's still cool. The program is by kids for on the internet?
Hold on, sis. Let's start at the beginning like Dad did with us. So Andrew and Lisa will be able to persuade their parents about the internet with some important facts.
Good idea, Peter, but where do we start?
Let's start with the basics first. There are 3 important services you can access on the internet. Surfing the World Wide Web.
Surfing? That sounds pretty cool already.
Andrew, don't interrupt.
Go on, Peter.
Then there are news groups to share information with people. And then there's email.
Email? I heard that's really neat. My cousin has a pen pal in Sweden, and they write back and forth, and it transmits right away. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah, you can even talk with people all over
What can the
world
best
on
mechanic in
chat.
LS do for you?
Don't they have chess games or stuff like that, too?
Yup, they got more stuff than you can imagine.
So, where should we start?
Let's start with web pages. So first you need to know that everything on the internet has an address, and all web addresses start with http://. Then to access the World Wide Web, you type in www.
And the next thing you'll type will be specific.
Oh,
Directing
my.
you to a particular
Oh, yeah.
website, like MTV.
Whoa.
Or you
Yeah,
can just
do it.
surf the net using a search engine to help you locate information on any topic you can think of.
For instance, I used the World Wide Web to search the archives of the Smithsonian Museum a few weeks ago. I also had to do a homework assignment about the Wright brothers for a history assignment.
Can you show us what you found?
Sure.
Wow, is that the first plane the Wright brothers flew?
Yup, they called her the Kitty Hawk.
So that means we can visit most any museum in the world without even leaving home? Not just museums. You can go anywhere on the net and access resources from around the corner or to the most remote regions in the world. Now that's amazing. So where else can we go?
Want to write a letter to President Clinton?
Would he answer us?
I bet he would.
Let's tell him how much we love the internet and that he should try to get more computers for our schools. But how do we even look up the White House?
You type www.whitehouse.gov.
It looks just like it does in our history books, only it seems more real, like we're there. Is this like sending email? It is sending email.
Dear Mr. President, my name is Peter. My sister is Dasha. Our friends Lisa and Andrew came over today. Sincerely, Andrew, Lisa, Peter, and Dasha.
Wow, that's really neat, but how can we get the internet on our computer at home? You're going surfing on the internet. Remember how Dad said we should start with the basics first?
That's true. Well, to get started, you'll need to get connected to the internet. You do that through an internet service provider.
An internet service provider? What's that?
It's a service that connects you to the internet through special super high-speed lines. Your parents or teachers can help you figure this out for you.
The easiest way is to use an online service provider. They give you free disks to install, and it only takes a few minutes until you're online. And we can do it ourselves? Yeah, you'll be led through a series of screens for the installation of the software. They make it simple, and they even have a helpline if you get stuck.
Here be Davis Avenue.
You'll need to type in your name, address, and credit card information. Be sure to ask your folks for permission to use it.
I'm looking for a certain TV show about video games. Women in Computing, 1985. Yeah, this is it. The Computer Chronicles. Computer Chronicles video games. $1984. be Davis Avenue.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and this is Gary Kildall, whom I'm trying to beat in a game of Pong. Pong is
gonna
the
be mad.
granddaddy of all computer games, and that's the subject of our program today, computer games. And Gary, computer games, in fact, were important, weren't they, in getting the whole personal computer thing going?
Well, they certainly were a part of it. One of the unique aspects of a personal computer is that it often has bitmap color graphics, the amplitude, for example, and that way you can get a very dynamic things going. So you can see what you want to this particular game obviously is where you hold the attention, and got a lot more sophisticated since then. We're going to see some of that today.
Indeed, we've got a very exciting show. We'll be meeting some of the superstars of computer game programming from Electronic Arts, from Atari, and from Activision. And while the idea of computers in games may be new, the idea of people playing games with machines is not really new. Before the first program was written to simulate a starry background or a speeding racer, many arcades offered similar, more mechanical amusements, but with the same goals in mind: to challenge and entertain. If the locale was less exotic, the competition less ferocious, at least in some of the games, interaction was similar. The player needed manual dexterity in competing for points or reward, more tangible in some cases than in others. As a device for escaping daily routine, computer-generated graphics brought a level of fantasy that no mechanical game could ever approach. Instead of escaping from a schoolroom or an office, the player could leave the Earth or move to a different universe. Modern arcade computer games offer different kinds of challenges, from fast action games that demand even faster reactions, to maze-type games where the player threads his way around obstacles, and war games where the object is to destroy or be destroyed. In one of the latest adventure games, animated images are stored on laserdisc to be recalled sequentially, following the story's plot and according to the player's responses. If the player moves the control stick in the right direction, he is rewarded with a successful escape. But if the player makes a mistake, the program picks an alternative sequence of images. The results can be extremely uncomfortable. Whether used to create unknown worlds or to enhance the reality of familiar worlds, computer games succeed in an unlikely domain, transforming pinpoints of light on a little screen into a believable realm, larger than life, and usually more exciting.
Just digital animations. Virtual pinpoints of light.
Steve Kitchen, designer of the incredible new game Spaceship from Activision, and Chris Crawford, one of the top activisions with Atari.
1984 Atari.
Steve and Chris, you both build computer-based games. Do you call yourself designers or programmers?
I call myself a designer because most of the sweat and blood I expend occurs in the design phase, not in the programming phase. I spend a great deal of time worrying about what my audience will experience. Afterwards, to actually writing any code.
What do you think about the design of the game? What do you make it interesting?
Well, that has to do a great deal with what I'm trying to accomplish. I set a goal. I want a game to achieve a certain effect.
Where be that dump truck?
Communicate a message to my audience. That message then dictates the topic and the style of the game, the nature of the graphics, the feel, that's what the texture of the game that I'm trying to build into. That's what I spend most of my time worrying about.
Cheetah gonna be mad when she wake up.
Keeping on her trajectory line. At 26.2 nautical miles, the solid rocket boosters will jettison off. Now, this is a very important.
She's gonna be so mad she light these tires on fire.
There we go. This is something that wasn't noted until STS-1 when the first astronauts went up that this actually happened. I had to find all of these details out about what you would experience if you were doing the flying. So when you play this game, you feel like you'd actually flown.
Steve, it seems to me the incredible thing is this game is running on an Atari 2600, not a computer. How do you squeeze all of this into that unit?
Cheetah be looking for a dump truck.
You have to model the universe and you feel that you're really be in it. You have to find how you can fit it all in inside piece. You start off with a basic mission, and then you add features and you add the functions all along the way. When I finished the game, I was not happy with it, and I had an initial list of 146 separate items I wanted to put in that I still felt were important. I spent an initial 3 months finishing those off and getting them all in. I wanted this to be absolutely accurate and absolutely complete. And it is. It's an 8K cartridge. It's incredible. 13 years of programming and a lot of that time just putting it all together. Now, we've just achieved orbit. The external tank jettison, there it goes. And we've gone with an orbiting satellite, which actually was themed after the Skylab. In fact, Dr. Gibson did a review of the game, and he noted that it looked like you were trying to fly into his old nemesis in space. And then we do our decorbit to come in from space.
Now, one thing unique you did in adapting this game to the 2600 is using the switches in the 2600 as functional switches. How did you do that?
What we had to do was I had to throw out all the old ideas of what this machine could do. This was originally a video game console, so I said, look, all these switches are controlled by the computer. I'm going to redefine them to be computer switches. I'm going to control the main engines, the backup engines, the cargo bay doors, the landing gear, the sequence of information on the screen. It became so different that we had to develop a way to fit over the screen. We had to develop what's called a cheat sheet, which is just what the astronauts use. The instructions that are necessary to fly your shuttle. And the instruction book is 30 pages long. And it gives you a lot of detail into exactly how to fly the space shuttle. And basically, it's a small flight manual. We provide a glossary. We provide drawings of the space shuttle, engine indicators. This is the space shuttle. So really, you understand all about the space shuttle to fly this game accurately.
You have a pilot's license when you get through this.
If you fly successfully,
Allez-y,
you
puto!
fly just as an astronaut like it. We're entering Earth's atmosphere now, and you see we're getting the ionization of the appears around the space shuttle. If you saw the movie The Great Stuff, you would see in the sequence with John Glenn, this is what the astronauts see. This is how ionized air is being superheated by the friction of the shell. And we have lost our signals and lost our altitude speed information with those computer screens.
Steve, it seems piloting a space shuttle is very difficult to do. One would think, can a kid or a normal person actually pull this off?
Not my bike.
What I did when I designed this was I understood that problem. The average individual fly the space shuttle would take years of work. But I looked at how NASA trains its astronauts, and they start off, first of all, by giving them a lot of book exercises. They give them film strips of what it's like to fly the space shuttle. This is flight number 1. You're seeing essentially a film strip. You can pick up the joystick and take control anytime you want to, but you don't have to.
That bike be
There's a second
destroyed.
flight called a training flight, and that basically is like flying in a simulator. You can make mistakes, you can make errors, and the report will compensate and will let you know. And then flight 3 is the actual real thing. So you work your way up to flying the actual mission. You can get into it very easily, and then work your way up and finally try to achieve your goals.
The interesting thing about this game, I think,
You calling for some wheels? I'm Johnny on the spot. I'll hook you up.
You're not sitting there playing Flash and YouTube. You're learning about technologically advanced
Call towards mutual to pick up speed.
The first one's a space shuttle, the second one is a chase plane. We're coming in now and towards Air Force Base. When you get done mastering this game, you've effectively learned all about what an astronaut does when he's in orbit. So the next time you see a launch go off, you're going to know what he has to do, when he has to do, what he goes through.
It's incredible. We need another minute or so before we land here. While we're waiting, Chris, let's talk about your new game is called Excalibur. What is that about?
It's coming at you. All right, I'll get back to work.
Expressed people. The ideas behind what Clausewitz's statement war is the extension of policy to other means. That is, I was a little tired of war games that glorify war. So I wanted to show them that war is something that sometimes cannot be avoided, but must never be entered into in a capital
There'd be a dump truck. Ah, it's full.
Cocksucker!
Stupid dick! You don't want no full dump trucks.
difference really in the early computer games, pretty limited now, the incredible graphics and speed. Has it really been a function of available memory?
Part of it is just programmers getting better, I think. Not many people wrote video games 5 years ago. It was a small selection. Now there are thousands of people who are capable of writing a good video game. And a few people have upped the ante, so it's not enough maybe to write a video game. You have to write a video game plus a game editor. I think the more popular games really have these extra features built in.
I agree.
One-on-one in there, that's a kind of exciting demonstration of what you can do. I think, Trip, you're going to take on either Dr. J or Larry Bird here. So tell us about one-on-one.
Well, the basic idea of one-on-one was to get these two guys, Julius Erving and Larry Bird, who are probably the two best known basketball players and probably the two best forwards that ever played the game, and to capture their personalities in the game. And so we decided to hire them to help us design the game, and we had photo sessions where we took pictures of them in action. In fact, we had a camera mounted in mid-court just exactly from its angle while we photographed them. And then we worked with them on prototypes of the product where we'd sit down and talk to them about the moves that they would use, some of the strategies and shooting percentages that they would have in different places on the court. And that was a fascinating learning experience.
You say programmed into personality. I mean, these characters play like Larry Bird.
Very much so. Right now they're playing against one another in a demonstration game. And if I press the button on my joystick, it'll take me to a menu, and I can quickly make a selection. I want to play against the computer. I'm going to allow the computer to play Larry Bird. And I'm going to play at the varsity level. There are different levels depending on who you're playing at. Start the game. And that's Larry Bird taking an outside shot. And he hit it. That Bird is particularly effective at outside shots. Watch Julius now. I'm going to be able to drive around on my own.
Just looking at it. You're Larry Bird now.
No, I'm Dr. J.
You're Dr. J. It's computers, Larry.
He's trying to work his way to the basket. So he's got a quick 4-0 lead over me. Oh, now I have to have the indignation of seeing an instant replay.
That's great.
Where be that dump truck though?
Games are going to next. I mean, what's the next generation of this game? I hate to interrupt you. Trying to get back to this.
I do that. Sorry.
What's happening next? What's the next tier? The next one?
Well, at a really simplistic level, you can turn very easy. It's very easy to extend the realism and the graphics that are in the current products. And I think it's also you're going to increasingly see more creative possibilities for the player, which is I think where a lot of the education value comes from. Being able to create your own pinball game is one example. Extending that with music construction set to a product that is about music. And of course, a lot of people that are really interested in music and just let their children learn about music. And it uses a lot of the ideas that Paul pioneered with pinball construction set. And I think that the area where the greatest challenges will come is looking for original ideas and new creative ways to break the mold. A lot of people look at what other people have done and try to do something that's a spin-off of that. But the really creative geniuses in the industry are capable of coming with something.
I think just come to you and say, we've got an idea, and here's the
program,
right? And you turn around and sell it.
It happens all different ways. We have one of our better products. It's called Hardhead Mac. Two high school boys came into our office one day and they had 3 sheets of high school notebook paper they'd drawn up in their physics class, and we signed a contract based on that.
Gentlemen, right on time. Jim, thanks so much. Thank you for joining us in this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
That was 1984. Year 2000.
classes of ancient games. This little computer, which is not so ancient, I hate to tell you, in a game which is, let me show you how small this thing is. I can open it up.
Google search result, show me. GTA 5 dump truck. No.
We're going to be talking about game software today, Gary. Some people may think that's frivolous, but from a programmer's point of view, I don't think the challenges of writing a game are much the same as those for writing business software. There are a lot of similarities, a lot of differences to it. In the case of business software, for example, the coding is often very file intensive. In the case of game-playing software, it's often real time.
GTA 5 dump truck location. Oh, okay, at Davis Courts, east of Sandy Shores. Redwood Lights Track. What the Redwood Lights Track? Occasionally seen driving down desert roads near Sandy Shores. Construction site in downtown Los Santos.
Novel. And a good example of that is
We're going to start today with an interview we recently had, in which he talked about his fascination for computer games.
Douglas Adams, best known for the hugely successful Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, has discovered a new way to startle, befuddle, and astonish his fans with a text adventure game called Bureaucracy. It's based on his own experience, trying to get his bank to acknowledge his The bank finally responds.
They wrote me a very nice, very apologetic letter saying, yes, but this is absurd, we do agree, and, it's very silly of us, and we will make sure it doesn't happen again. Our records have now been corrected, and so on.
Cheetah can't climb inside.
Guess where they sent the letter? To the old address, yes. You can't win. And, this is the fundamental premise which lies behind this game. Your object is to get your bank to acknowledge your change of address card, but you go through hell in order to try and achieve it.
The inevitable outcome of Bureaucracy also reflects the exotic bureaucratic horrors faced by the author while on a photography expedition to the island of Madagascar.
The most appalling bureaucracy, it is just insane. When you first arrive at the airport, you go into the arrivals lounge, and the bit you encounter there is almost as long as the entire journey to get there. Because for every flight they set up, for every flight that comes in, there's a sort of great shanty town that grows up of little sort of booths, desks, huts, tents, and anybody who hasn't got anything better to do and has got something green to wear can come down there and is allowed to go through your passport, go through your belongings, get you to fill in forms that you can't understand. And it'll take you hours to get in. So anyway, in this game you will end up in a country called Zalagasa. And you cannot avoid getting there. You will run into terrible trouble at the airport. You're trying to get to Paris. Whatever method you try to reach Paris by, you will end up hanging from a tree in the middle of the jungle from a parachute in the middle. So you either would have been thrown off the plane, or you will have parachuted out with a hijacker who's taking you as a hostage, depending on which flight you get on. Or if you really got the wrong flight, you'll actually find yourself.
Get out of here! You make me sick! To meet your maker!
Cheetah, eat! You need to eat something! Cheetah, you need to eat again! Cheetah, no! She passed out. She's gonna be mad when she see me.
Shanghai, and next to Brody is Lucy Bradshaw of Activision, the company which publishes Shanghai. Gary?
Brody, I'd like to find out what the background is. How did you come up with Shanghai?
Well, I'd written the game several years ago on a mainframe computer, and I hoped to port it to a microcomputer, and was a little bit disappointed with the resolution of the graphics available on micro. So
Here be the ferry. The ferry from Liberty City, I think.
Yeah, let's take a listen and play Shanghai for us. Well, Shanghai is based on traditional mahjong tiles. 144,000.
still there, though.
So you've got like a pile of 4
Cheetah, you need to eat something.
5 is the highest point in the center. Part of the problem is when the cows are hidden. That's why this game is different. Cows are randomized and measured with them. So tell us what you're doing there.
What I'll do is I'm finding matches and directly match, and I can go up and remove the tiles.
He's swimming?
Or just double click on the subimage to remove it a little quicker once you become familiar with the
Suits, right? Because these dots.
Exactly. And you have information
Where are they at,
on the
though?
tiles if you'd like to get exactly what they are and how they match. There are also rules, and if you're not too familiar with the machine, by having it show all the moves. So there's 3 tiles that match. You have to choose which 2 you're going to remove, and that is where the strategy becomes involved. Where you're going to start removing and how you're going to back to the start of the tiles.
There's a kind of fast forward to what the video
Give it up, Esther!
This is quite a bit more complicated because there's supposed to be 4 players and
right now Lucy's right near what would be the end of the game, only 2 pairs left. And she's won. Like we're gonna get some sort of reward. Is there an award for very relaxing to play rather than visualize that. I gotta reload!
fast action.
It's pretty quick to learn, which is nice feature getting in. Also, you working on anything, any other games?
Yeah, I'm just finishing up a game called Solitaire Royale, which is a collection of solitaire cards.
And for what machine?
It's originally from the Mac. It's also available on the iPad.
Brody and Lucy, thank you very much. In just a minute, we're going to take a look at another new game for the 2GS that uses stereo sound. So stay with us. With us in the studio are Richard Seaborn and Jeff Lefferts, both of whom called The Tower of Miraglen, which is published by PBI Software Area. Which is your game special award
The sound is stored in digitized data. That is to say, we take an audio source such as a tape or stereo playback, and we'll record that effectively into RAM on the computer. We can play that back at varying rates.
Play that through that special port.
Yes.
Tell us about
the actual game is the Tower of Miraglen. What you're trying to do is play the role of a knight of justice, a defender of right. You're going into the tower to try to prove that you are good, justified, and that you are also intelligent and saving strong. You want to go through all the monsters in combat and so forth, and try to prove you're good and get the medallion from Mendelin.
Okay, give us an example of how you use the sound in here and how you've added sound to typical adventure fantasy game.
Okay, a lot of adventures in the past have always had sounds because they harp a lot on the adventure, and they forget the other side, the action side, the sound side. Basically, you're there in the situation. What we've done is, anytime you go through doors, you hear the doors slam, a portcullis fall, including everything ranging from every individual monster has its own roars and screams. I'm going to show you an example right here.
Tell us what you're doing as you do it.
Okay, I'm going into the room. I'm fighting some ghosts and some demons.
You're gonna die, bitch!
Digitized because of the tape player. Now I've died.
Monsters on the right side come out of the right side.
They're going out the right side. And it shifts back and forth.
You're going
No, Cheetah, I need something. Need something, Cheetah.
Fuck you!
Okay, sound data in and over and by trying to find sounds which, when played back very fast, actually can be heard by the human as something different. An example would be where will there are ghosts moaning and screaming and demons roaring. Those same sounds can be changed by playing back very quickly and being much smaller creature because it's actually not the frequency. The same thing, the ghost moan, for example, does become a rat squeak. And the thunderclaps can become door slams and so forth.
Okay, now there are lots of adventure fantasy games around. What really distinguishes this new one that makes it
The other ones have already tried one of two approaches. Take an already existing game and make it better, or do something entirely new. This game says, well, wait a minute, that's not really the way to design a game. Take all the games that have been good, take all their advantages, and put them into one.
Steal a little bit from everybody.
So like Bach. Take what each one is that's good, put those into your game, and make the adventure something that an adventurer will appreciate, not just amazing to go through.
Now, with all this digitizing, I mean, what are the memory demands of this game?
The actual game will work in a 512K machine.
So you need minimum 512K to play the game.
What about the price of the board and so forth they had on board?
The stereo card?
Yeah.
The stereo card from MD Ideas is really not that expensive. It's normally $60. You can need the card to play the game over. It helps a lot.
Just to get the stereo out of it.
Yes. And it'll also allow you to drive speakers directly if you don't have an amplifier or stereo available.
Okay, now getting back to memory, you see, you need minimum 512.
If you have more RAM, you can actually have more sounds. For example, when the character's running through the mazes and he confronts obstacles, some sounds will be abridged, shortened, or entirely removed in order to fit in that memory. If you have more memory, the game says, hey, I'm going to use your more memory. And it loads in more sounds. So like when he dies, you'll hear him scream no as he collapses to the floor instead of just clapping the floor with a breath.
You got some more games coming up?
Yes, very much.
The most satisfying thing, Jared, is this guy wrote the game and he died just today. I got a lot of pleasure out of that. Gentlemen, thanks for You come home and you can't play it, or it doesn't work, or you get stuck in the middle of an adventure game and you don't know where to go next. You call a customer support line, and if you're lucky, somebody answers the phone. What happens on the other side of that phone? We ask women.
Customer support, Michael speaking. Can I help you?
Michael is one of 15 customer support people manning the phones.
Now I just asked Google where's dump? Google where be the dump truck?
64 game titles across a range of 7 different computers. How do they do it?
Well, all the customer reps have booted up every product at some point in their career.
Davis Courts east of Sandy Shores. That quartz mine. Cheetah, we finna go to that quartz mine and get a dump truck.
Go through the test plan individually prior to product shipping. So we're all familiar with it. Within the first 5 weeks of ship, we know what any questions are to be for the life of the product.
And just in case memory fails, the reps have extensive libraries of game clues and technical solutions at their fingertips. Among the strangest calls they received was the one about the dog that ate the Starflight disc. It was replaced free of charge. And the distraught father whose kid ran up a $300 phone bill trying to solve the game Bard's Tale.
Well, we do get numerous calls from parents, again, wanting to know who we are. Usually they've probably solved the game by the time the phone bill reaches them.
Surprisingly, most of the 500 calls they log each week come from grown-ups. You think that after a long day at the telephones, slaving over hot computers, people here would want a break. But no, what do they do in their spare time? They play games. In San Mateo for the Computer Chronicles, I'm Liz.
That really don't be oversoon already.
Traditional simulation, we've seen lots of baseball games, racing car games. What is different about that?
Well, the fundamental difference that we have in both of these games is that we use physical models of the real world, so that all the action happens in the place of the real world, and every now and then we update the screen so that you know what's happening in the real world.
Okay, what's an example? Let's see.
Well, for example, in the real world, a ball falls at 32 feet per second squared, and when the hit is calculated, we calculate the trajectory of the ball, so if it's going to be a home run, it has to go up at a certain velocity so that it will fall behind the fence.
Eddie, in terms of the strategy here, it's called...
That do be a baller, though.
He actually play a role in developing this.
He played a very large role. He met with us about 5 times. We spent a lot of time with him talking about strategies, about the plays that he uses, both offensively and defensively, the way that he picks his lineups, the way he picks his rosters. All those things, he spent an awful lot of time playing the game and evaluating and giving us feedback on things that we've done and giving us some new ideas as well.
Let's take a look at that.
Okay. Well, we're in the bottom of the 8th inning here in a game between the American League All-Stars from the beginning of the century.
Do there be somebody in there?
National League All-Stars 61 to 75. Earl's managing this team, which is the National League, and I'm managing this team here. Babe Ruth is up, and the tying run is on third base, and it's represented by Cheetah Speed. He's not a very fast runner, so I'm going to bring in Sam Crawford. First, I'm going to look at his statistics. We have over 40 stats per player, and this determines how he does in the field, on the base paths, and, of course, at bat versus left and right-handed pitchers.
Okay, so we saw the lineups of all the players. Now we're looking at the stats of any particular player.
That's right.
And then you know the actual game.
That's right. So I'm going to pick up Crawford and put him on speaker, and then change his position to center field so that my defense is set up here. And then I can pull people in and out of the bullpen, but now we're ready to go back into the game.
Okay, now what field are we in?
Now we're looking at the polo grounds. You can play in any ballpark, either real or fictional. You can design your own. It's one of the important things about using the physics models. It doesn't limit you to certain configurations of ballparks, so we can have that giant green monster at Fenway. What I'm looking at here is my options of plays that I can call on the offense. But I've got my base runners on. I'm ready to go. So let's see what Babe Ruth can do against Sandy Koufax.
You've got to go close up on the right there of the pitcher.
There's a close-up. There's the pitch. He struck him out. Between innings, we get a television.
Can you explain? You're in what you call a one-pitch mode right now, so we're not really seeing a lot of pitches.
That's right. We do this so that you can very quickly go through a game. We also have a mode where you can see every single pitch.
And it takes 3 hours.
That's right. It can. So now we also have an instant replay feature in this case, Earl comes out to argue. So we can see what he's arguing about here.
Because his runner was thrown out at first.
Right. So here's the instant replay. It's a slow motion replay. We can also freeze frame in the replay so we can see the seams spin on the ball on the pitch. So we'll see here that as the pitcher comes to the plate, we can really see the seams go there. So there's the hit.
Cheetah distracting law enforcement because one of her associates knows a stick-up crew who's holding up a bank. And the bank be that
statistics of each player, his ratings,
Lom Bank right there.
Whether or not we're on AstroTurf or natural turf, where the fences are, all those things affect the outcome of each individual play and therefore each individual game. Everything's rolled up with a random number.
Oh no.
Everything's different.
Be that Lom Bank.
Also, let me ask you about the digitized sound. We heard a lot of those sounds. What role does that play?
Well, we tried to make it as much like a TV
He jump out though?
as well as possible, and sounds are a major part of that. Terry Mason did it.
Maybe he landed in the canal.
The crowd sound effects and the umpire, which are digitized sound effects, as is the backtrack with the announcer's voice, which is phonemes generated by the Amiga. That it's tough to get those names to be pronounced correctly.
Is that the guy?
I want to turn now to you, Rich, and talk about Ferrari Formula One. Tell us about the development of that.
Yeah, Ferrari Formula One was designed from the beginning to be a Grand Prix simulation as opposed to a racing game. So we spent a great deal of time finding out about the Ferrari F186 that was used in the 1986 World Championship season and finding out about each one of those individual tracks and the drivers that performed on the circuit that year. One of the things that we did was realize that at least a portion of each part of Grand Prix racing is the engineering and setting up of the car for each one of those individual tracks.
Okay, show us how you do that on this. That's pretty impressive.
Okay. This is the paddock screen, which is a menu system that we use to get you from different places. For instance, here you can see the Brazilian flag. You can see that there's a sun, which means that the weather is currently sunny, and that the current selection has it set for a 2-lap race. Around the track is the garage, transports, which allow you to get to other tracks, race control, which allows you to control the simulation, and pits. I have some final setup to do before we go to this race, so let's go straight in. Push on any of those things, click on any of those things, and it creates another reaction. So what I'm going to do is, because I'm not quite sure how to set up for here, I'm going to ask for advice from Morrow, who's a built-in computer crew chief.
Because there are all the choices you have to set on your car.
Right. But what I can do is, this is the engine system requester, fuel injection ROM, oiling system, turbocharger, etc. This is the tire requester, which allows me to select between different compounds and different trim designs. Wing settings, which are important for aerodynamics and maximum downforce. Suspension settings. Also on the screen is a race scoring monitor that's exactly modeled after launch. It's Olivetti system that's used for Formula racing. So I think you should just
shows the computer's really driving the car, right?
When you drive the car, you drive it using the mouse, using the right button as the accelerator, the left button using the brake.
The first thing you see is rear view mirrors.
Right. Now, those rear view mirrors are showing you exactly what's behind you, which in this case is unfortunate because there's nobody behind you. You're in a place. That guy is kindly cutting in front of us. On the dash you see in front of you is an exact copy of the dash that was on the F-186. The top display is the turbo boost. The bottom display is the RPMs. I'm going to crank up my turbo boost so catch up here. The gear shifter that you see is working there. The steering wheel moves from it. The object of this game is a little different than most driving games in that your role isn't just to win one race, it's to win the entire season. That means you have to survive to finish the season. So you have to be careful and conservative and not destroy yourself.
And you can crash and get in trouble if you're lucky.
Exactly. If you were to run it back on these cars at the proper speed, it could knock you out for anything from 1 day to the entire season.
Rich, we're kind of going for a ride here, sort of an autopilot. Is there some degree of randomness in it? We'll get a different ride each time?
Well, when you built the physics model and wrote the rest of the program, we did some data analysis on real-world drivers and discovered kind of the factor of error that they had, so we built that into both this AI opponent as well as the other AI opponents.
I don't know if I'll go to the sewer. Cheetah just got another 10,000 for doing that.
Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with another look at games.
Now she have a 5,000 or 5-star deal. Yeah, I'll just drop off the baller right here, and then Cheetah go hide inside there. Here going to be needing some. Oh, that's not good. Cheetah, that's not good. 2 more seconds, and that baller not explode like that.
Version 6.0 also includes a map utility. No, it doesn't map your hard disk. It's a map of the world.
And then onward to the dump truck yet again. Cheetah run fast though.
Start bundling Microsoft Works with the PS2 Model 25. Works is an integrated word processor, spreadsheet, database, and communications program. Borland International has released its first word processor. It's called Sprint, and the unique feature of it is a user-defined user interface. You can tell it to act like WordPerfect, WordStar, Microsoft Word, or Multimate. Sprint will sell for about $200. Time for this week's software review. Here is Paul Schindler.
Well, that's one way to have fun on the phone. Another is to use SmartCom 2 for the Macintosh.
Cheetah be behaving good and got $2,000.
I've seen, and it's the only telecom program that's actually fun to use. As you start the program, SmartCom shows you all the things it can do, including sending material to the printer or the disk drive. When you select one of the icons along the bottom, SmartCom translates it into the command lines above. When text, like your sign-on, is needed, a dialog box pops up.
That not about video games?
Programs, automating communication with host computers can be a pain. SmartCom 2, like all Mac software, uses icons.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it'd be.
Create scripts that can automatically sign you on, then neatly extract all.
This the one that I remember.
Software companies beta test their serious business programs.
Might be time to fight.
Software? How do they work the bugs out of those?
There apparently be a gang attack going on.
Here at PBI Software in Foster City, California, where designers and testers bang away at keyboards, joysticks, and mice to make sure the games work just right. Indeed, the R&D that goes into game design is often just as
complicated that award though.
Goes into a serious business program. Today we continue our two-part look at game software on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Controls is made possible in part by CompuServe, featuring an online reference library, Wall Street reports, at-home shopping, airline reservations, games, and hundreds of other services. CompuServe, helping people get the most from computers. Additional funding is provided by publishers of Byte.
infectiously
Byte's detailed
delicious
technical articles on new
E.
hardware,
coli.
software, and languages cover developments in computer technology worldwide.
An Ubermacht. Ubermacht. Danger. High voltage.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and my opponent...
What did that guy say,
we're playing an incredible game called Falcon.
Cavalier or something?
Our own F-16s. These two PCs are connected by the communications ports so that I see Gary on my screen, he sees
No,
me
Cheetah.
on his screen. This also, Gary has a black box of flight recorder in here, so that when I crash, as I always do, I can go back and look at the flight recorder
Cheetah,
and see
no.
what I did and see what kind of mistake I made. These games are so sophisticated, but some parents, I think, worry that maybe their kids spend too much time playing computer games. What do you think?
Well, the games can
Cheetah.
be very educational. For example, maybe the kids...
Cheetah, you need to eat something.
The buttons, running a mouse around, things like that. There are obvious things like hand-eye coordination is a very important thing to learn. Things like problem solving through tactics and strategies that help them win the game, things of that sort. Also, the games themselves, asteroids. Remember asteroids? As the rocks flying through space, the kids would learn about gravitational effects.
Get behind something, Cheetah.
Flight simulators, learn about flying. But, you know, I got hands-on experience at home that tells me the kids can't OD on these things, though, too.
Gary, we're going to take a look at some of the hottest new games for two machines, the Macintosh and the IBM PC. Among them, Chuck Yeager's Advanced Flight Trainer, a helicopter simulation called Apache Strike, and one heck of a golf game called Mean 18. Now, as Gary said, computer games can be educational. We're going to start out by going to a school where a teacher is using computer games to teach her children.
Educational software has come a long way since the first math and spelling drills found their way into elementary schools. Teachers now have a choice of role-playing adventure games that both entertain and teach. At the Crocker Middle School near San Francisco, teacher Donna Howard uses a game called The Other Side that simulates international conflicts.
We do a lot of different kinds of problem-solving strategies. And some of the goals of the class are to learn how to negotiate, to learn how to work in a cooperative group, and make decisions together. Another one is to be able to organize your information and extrapolate information from that information once you've got it organized. And this game is a nice setting for that.
Each team of 4 students tries to build a bridge to the other team's country and must compete for the needed resources and money. Players divide their time between the computer and a conference table where they plan strategy and review their progress.
I found in my years of teaching that the students want to be put in a situation where they're acting something out, where they actually have to do these sort of things, and there's some sort of reward, just like there is for you and I when we negotiate. There's a reward, there's a carrot at the end of our negotiation. And living it is a better teacher than reading about it and reciting facts.
Donna Howard's students may not be ready for the State Department, but their class game seems to be having an effect. During the recent Reagan-Gorbachev summit, they discussed the likely strategies used by the two sides. Not bad for a group of kids in their early teens.
Cheetah mad.
Joining us in the studio now is Peter Merrill of PBI Software. Peter created the game Strategic Conquest. Next to Peter, Eric Zucker of Silicon Beach Software.
Peter, we talked about the kids getting all hung up on computer games. Is your game any different?
Oh, very definitely. This is a game that adults really like to play.
What's your name?
Well, it's a strategy war game. And over here, I've got the map. The white represents water. The gray represents land. The black is an area that we don't know anything about. We would find out about it by moving some of our pieces into the black area, would then become visible.
So this is not really the Earth. This is a mythical.
It's a game that we generate with a random number generator.
Okay.
In here now, in this current game that I've been playing, I own 4 islands here. The enemy owns these 2 islands right here. My strategy is to conquer this island. To do that, I've loaded troop transports with troops, and I've dumped them off up here. This creates a lot of confusion and draws in. In the meantime, I've loaded up a whole bunch more troop transports and dumped them off all along here. Now I'm going to go to the next screen and see the details here. This is the screen that you normally use when playing the game. This is the island we're trying to capture. My smoke screen is up here. The computer, for demonstration purposes, is playing my side. And you've got things like an aircraft carrier right here. These are jets flying around. You can hear the sounds of the jets as they move.
So would you normally be moving the
Cheetah, no!
Exactly. Point and click.
I don't know what happened. She's gonna be mad when she wake up, though.
And these light pieces are my pieces. The dark pieces are the enemy pieces. And these armies are now going in and trying to capture these cities. Capture your cities. So the key to the game is capturing cities, because cities make more pieces. The more cities you capture, the more you
manufacture more weapons,
yes. The more you have, the more powerful you are.
Okay, Peter, what is the bottom line object of the game now?
What you have to do is capture all the cities, and that lets you win the world.
You want to conquer the world. That's
exactly
like any good game.
That
Peter, I want to
means
ask you to
something.
get your program out of there and load up the next one. I want to talk to Eric for just a second. You have two games you can show us. The first one is called Beyond Dark Castle, which you describe as kind of an interactive cartoon, which is a great phrase. Tell me what you mean by that.
By that I mean, it's like a cartoon experience in that you control the actions of the main character on the screen. There's a lot of detailed animation and cartoon-like digitized soundtrack that makes it a lot like a cartoon for the people that are watching you play.
Okay, let's show it.
We're in the game's practice mode in the middle of the swamp, which is one of the 14 rooms, and I'll go ahead and pick it up. There's a flaming eye that I have to destroy before he destroys me.
What are your weapons?
I'm throwing rocks right now, but there in one of the other rooms there's a special spell I can acquire from a wizard to have fireball capability instead of rocks.
It's not strategic conquest.
No. No.
Okay, you're trying to get to the end to
get one of the magic orbs that I need to win the game. I just gave myself some gas. I'm in the practice mode, so I can do that. At the end of this swamp, there's a guard shack where one of the 5 magic orbs is stored.
This is the guy's flying with his little private helicopter.
That's right. And I believe we're almost there. There we are.
All right.
And I'll just stow my chopper pack here. Pick the mace up. Got him. I'm taking care of dispatch the guard now. And now I'll go up and claim the orb. And all I need to do now is fly back out and place it on a pedestal in the anteroom, and then go get the other 4.
All right, I guess that's a pretty good description of an interactive cartoon. That's really pretty neat. I want to ask you about the other game you have here now, which is called Apache Strike. And you fly a helicopter, but it's not really a helicopter simulation, is it?
No, it's not really. It's an action fantasy is what I would call it. The real objective that we had in designing Apache Strike was to get a real good action feel and really get your pulse pounding.
I'll go ahead and get my pulse pounding here.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start it up. I'm going to start at level 20, where there's quite a bit of action.
What's happening here?
I'm flying the helicopter now using the mouse, and that's one of the enemy helicopters. And these are skyscrapers that I'm flying through. And
where are you headed?
I'm trying to find the strategic defense computer that gauge on the right-hand side of the screen. Ouch. Is the bearing distance to the strategic defense computer. Now I'm 47 blocks away.
We just see that screen cracked to the right. What happened there?
That's my radar screen, which is normally very useful to have, but as you can see, this program will let parts of your equipment.
This is not the episode I'm looking for.
On the more difficult levels.
Just don't know where you're going.
It was about an Apache computer game, but not this one.
Now I'll try and get this tank.
What's the voice we hear?
That's Linda, the lifelike inboard narrative damage assessment computer. And that's actually the digitized voice of, one of Silicon Beach's programmers.
We're asking you to talk and fly a chopper at the same time. I realize that's difficult.
track down this.
Whoops.
Strategic defense computer. It's the central computer controlling the city's defenses, and the mission at each level is to fly through the enemy's defenses to the center of the city and then destroy the strategic defense computer.
You mentioned you're playing at level.
I like you, Maverick. You bounce.
You can go up indefinitely. We've got 500 levels programmed in.
You think anybody will ever get there?
I hope so. You can start on level 120 or 40. I'm getting real close now. Hopefully soon Linda will say SDC sighted and we'll know.
How do you know you're getting close from?
Oh boy. Ouch. Oh.
Okay, I'm trying.
Actually, smooth operation, the smooth pitching move looks really, really good. How do you accomplish that anyway?
What this is 3D animation with hidden surface removal. And the enemies are also have surfaces removed and are shaded. Bill Applin's, the programmer, has achieved quite a feat here to get 20 frames of that happening per second. It makes the game really smooth.
Yeah, looks good.
Eric, what's the
There
next
goes the
step? What's the
family
next
vacation.
technology you think is going to make games even better than they are?
There's a new technology on the horizon called Compact Disc Interactive. It's actually a home entertainment type of technology, and I think that has the possibility to introduce video and a lot of interesting possibilities.
What are the current projections on when that's going to arrive as far as consumer products?
I think maybe end of 1988 is what I'm hearing, and the CDI player actually connects to the stereo on the television and contains
You're actively working on that now?
Yes. Yeah.
Real quick, what's next?
Oh, with faster computers, more AI, and you just never know what's around the corner.
Okay, Gary and I were playing Falcon against each other at the beginning of the program here in the same room. Nowadays, you can actually play a real-time computer game against an opponent anywhere in the country. Wendy Woods tells us how.
This is The Island of Kismai, a Dungeons and Dragons type of game, and Michael Organ, a statistician who's designed and played his share of games, is playing it for the first time with two other people 2,000 miles away in real time via the CompuServe network. This is an example
Here be that quartz mine
user game
where I read online there was a dump truck.
playing any one game simultaneously. They're not your arcade type games with stunning graphics. Their visual display consists of the basic characters that can be set across
it'd be called the Davis
to all types of
quartz.
computers. Angle brackets, carets, dashes, and dollar signs represent doors, altars, or treasure, for instance. But graphics are not the selling point for multi-user games.
It's different. It's
Their
kind of
animations.
fun.
Graphics need to be retired as a word, even though it's accurate.
Just sort of fool around and do everything the way you want to do it. If you're doing it with a few other people, then they want to be doing things their way. And so you might, in fact, that's kind of fun.
Sprites and animations.
Conflicts with the people that you're playing the game with.
Imagination is a big part of the appeal of these
I see no dump truck.
Players can take
Cheetah
on
mad.
identities of their alter egos. Getting hooked on a game like this can be expensive, but there are plenty of people willing to make that investment, or CompuServe wouldn't be planning to offer even more than the
Ooh.
30 games online now.
Cheetah, there'd be a gang attack at Davis
For the Computer
Quartz.
Chronicles, I'm Wendy Woods.
Joining us in the studio now is Dan Lerner, the creator and designer of Chuck Yeager's Advanced Flight Trainer. And next to Dan is John Carell, one of the developers of a golf game called Neat.
And you talk about your program being a flight trainer and a flight simulator. What's the difference?
Cheetah, who behind you though?
This is a flight instruction in previous programs. It has a flight instruction sequence designed by professional flight instructors.
Let's take a look at it.
Okay. I'm going to start off flying an F-18 Hornet, and I start off in a hangar, give myself some power, and start paying attention to the program.
Okay, this is a kind of just neutral airfield. You're going to have to talk a little bit in life.
Okay.
This is not Egypt or Zinc Pyramids.
Yeah, this is a fantasy landscape. It's like Egypt or Nellis Air Force Base, and it's just a good place to fly. Airplanes not much around, and nobody gets hurt.
You're obviously not necessary.
One bullet? Oh, come on.
Wonderful handling and extremely good acceleration. I'm going to come back and buzz the runway here. See if I can.
You really get the effect.
Yeah, that was all.
Cheetah, you need to eat something.
Yeah.
What else can you show us on this?
That'd be a cement truck, not a dump truck.
Oh, you're right behind it there.
Yeah. You try to stay as close as you can, and the trick is to watch his wings and follow the way they're banked in your screen too.
I try to concentrate and talk at the same time.
I think you mentioned you have 100 hours on this game, right? On the flight simulator.
It helps. How much does it help someone really learn to fly? Sort of training?
It does a good job. If you don't know much about flying, you learn a lot about the way the plane handles, and you also learn how all the instruments work. And I think it might save you 50 hours of classroom time or something. So.
Cheetah, no coward, though.
Chuck Yeager's the world's most famous pilot, and he is one reason he knows almost everything there is to know about flying. He's an expert on airplanes, and he helped us pick the airplanes we're using for the program. He also is an expert in aircraft training, and he helped us set that up.
And you're flying an F-18, you have an SR-71, and where else do you simulate?
We simulate a wide variety of planes, everything from World War I spots and stop with camels to experimental test planes and export. Pretty much everything you want to try.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
That's where SR-71, you just fly up into space.
You can fly into space.
So, around up there.
You don't have to control anymore, but there's no more air. But
John, I can understand the flight simulator. How do you simulate golf on a computer? That seems harder to imagine.
Well, it's actually probably a little easier than what Ned did with his program. Ours doesn't require quite as much concentration to play, so hopefully I'll be able to describe it as we play along. What we tried to do was to provide the user with a three-dimensional view. As I get into the game, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a little easier to show than it is to describe.
Okay, well,
okay. Before you get actually started with
Cheetah, you need to eat something.
With playing, you have the option of going to the practice tee, as you see here, practicing your driving, going to practice screen, or practicing your putting, practice any one of the 18 holes, or begin the game. And we're going to begin the game here. What we're going to do is we're going to resume the
That's
game.
not good for you.
We started on Pebble Beach, which is one of the courses that comes with it. Here you see an overview of Pebble Beach, the 18th hole, and as you can see, the regulation tees are 533 yards, pro tees are 543 yards. We're playing from the pro tees.
It's a par 5.
And it's a par 5. The computer, as you can see it down at the text portion of the screen, is recommending a driver based on the distance that I have left to the hole. If you ever get stuck, you can also press escape at any time, and that will remind you of all of the various key commands that you need in order to play. But basically, in order to do an entire stroke, it requires only 3 taps of the spacebar. The first one will start my backswing. The second one will start my downswing. The third one is actually the most crucial timing, crucial as far as timing goes, for determining whether I'm going to hit the ball straight or hook, which means go to the left, slice, go to the right. So here I want to go. I'm going to tap it right now. Start, tap it again, tap it again. So I was a little bit late, which means the ball is in a slice ever so slightly to the right.
So there really is some physical coordination you've got to do.
That's right.
You're hitting the space bar 3 times.
That's right. So it's simple keyboard input, which makes it easy to learn for people, but at the same time it does require some critical timing, which will
Cheetah, you need to eat something.
Of playing the game. Now we find ourselves at the position where I hit the ball, and I have 294 yards left to the hole. The computer is recommending the 3-wood because that's the club that will give me the maximum distance. So I'm going to try hitting it again. Again, it's 3 taps of the space bar, once, twice, 3 times. And again, I hit it a little bit late, which means I'm slicing to the right. You can see the ball traveling down there. And it looks like I might end up behind the tree. And by the way, there actually is a tree there on the 18th hole at Pebble Beach.
That's the real course.
Right. Now I'm going to do something here a little different. We're going to go back to that original.
I'm just thinking about what they're talking about on this TV show.
My last 2 shots. Yep, we're right behind the tree. Okay, so what I need to do then is aim a little bit. And I'm going to aim by pressing the left cursor key.
Looks like cheating.
Don't talk about Cheetah.
So we're going to aim by pressing the left cursor key. Again, I can aim again to the right, or and if I want to, I can go in a complete 360-degree rotation. The computer is recommending a pitching wedge, which gives me a total maximum distance of about 100 yards. So I'm going to hit it about 70% of the club's rated power. And again, it requires 3 taps.
And how do you do that? You said you hit it.
Right. The power bar that's on the left-hand portion of the screen goes from 0 to 100%. So I'm going to stop it at about 70%, which is about the 7th white mark that you see up there on the screen. Hopefully I can do that. There we go.
Cheetah got $500.
Sliced it a little bit because I had to aim to the left of the hole.
Where be the dump truck, though? There be the cement truck.
Now we're going to go to an overhead of the green. It will show me where my ball is in relationship to the hole. If there were other people playing, it would show the rest of
Putting the U in brute.
balls.
I don't want to rush your game, but you got 30 seconds to make this
right.
Oh, that's not a truck. I thought that was a truck.
I would move the cursor key up and down. And it looks like I have a straight shot in. My power bar on the left is now in increments of 8 feet, so I need to hit it about 3.5. Oh, I hit it.
Oh, sorry, that was pretty close. You got one more shot.
Okay, well, we'll finish it up. And I still ended up...
All right.
I still ended up with a birdie. Now, there's my scorecard.
Now, you've got 4 built-in courses in Beat 18. You can actually design your own course location.
That's right, because Beat 18 comes with a course architect that allows people to either modify an existing course or to create an entirely new one.
And as a golfer, do you find it satisfying to play the game that way?
I find it very simple, and people who don't even really play golf also enjoy playing it too.
Well, 2 interesting simulations. Thanks, Ned. Thanks, John. That's it for our look at games. Hope we'll see you again next week here on the Computer Chronicles.
In the random access file this week, CPUs in the news. First of all, Intel has introduced a new 386SX microprocessor. It features 386.
That's not about video games, though.
Compatibility, but with a slower 16-bit bus, the 386SX will be about 30% cheaper.
to find out if 2 new computers for the price on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Societies for Computer Professionals. AFIPS, Leadership and Service in Computer and Information Technology. Additional funding is provided by McGraw-Hill, publishers of Byte. Byte's detailed technical articles on new hardware, software, and languages cover the latest in microcomputer technology worldwide. Byte, the international standard.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee, and this is Gary Kildall. Gary, these two rather old-looking computers are really just about a year old here. The Commodore 64 and the Atari 800. These represented the battle between the low-end manufacturers just about a year ago. The 64 very successful. The 800 really the last machine before Jack Tramiel took over Atari. Today the battle is different. There's the Commodore Amiga, the Atari 520 ST, very sophisticated machines. Both have received lots of critical praise, but people are trying to figure out what you do with them. Is this another case of computer technology in search of a market?
Well, Stuart, the 64 and the 800 really took us through the first generation of home computers. So people have gone back to their VCRs and TV sets now, and to get the consumer attention, the second generation machines have to have better resolution, more color, faster animation, better sound capability. That means higher performance processors and more memory. Now, these new machines, the 520 and the Amiga, give us that hardware capability, and it's really up to the software developers to make it happen.
Today, we're going to get up close and personal with the Commodore Amiga and the Atari 520 ST to see if one of these machines is just right for you. Now, before the computer manufacturer can sell you on a computer, he's got to sell the retailer first. So we're going to begin by going to cont'd in Las Vegas, the Computer Dealers Expo, to see how Commodore and Atari are pitching the middlemen.
cont'd, Las Vegas, 1985. At the world's largest computer show, Atari held court at one of the biggest booths on the floor, and at the centerpiece of the display was the star of Atari's computer lineup, the 520 ST. Nestled inside Atari's sprawling booth were dozens of software vendors, each with a sign and just enough space for a chair and a computer. Atari seemed to have at least 2 goals in mind: a highly visible presence at the show, and a message to dealers that this was one computer company that didn't forget about software. From business to education to sophisticated graphics, the substance of Atari's show was the extensive variety of its software. Atari's most likely competition, the Commodore Amiga, was conspicuously absent from the cont'd show, although Commodore did hold private meetings with potential dealers. But in spite of its low-key sales pitch, Amiga has successfully wooed some unlikely dealers.
Now, our focus as a store has primarily been on business software, business computers, business users, so this is a little bit breaking new ground for us in that this machine has certainly a lot more of a home kind of focus than what we normally deal with.
The Amiga's dazzling graphics and advanced hardware has attracted equally sophisticated retail buyers.
So far, it's kind of been half and half between people who are just kind of anxious to have the latest and greatest and people who are interested in writing software for it. There are a lot of people who are extremely interested in writing software who haven't got into it yet because they're just kind of hanging in there waiting to see what the consumer response is going to be. And the consumer response has been great.
Joining us now in the studio is Rick Geiger, General Manager of Commodore Amiga, and next to Rick is Tim Mott, Vice President for Product Development and a co-founder of Electronic Arts, a software company which is writing for the Amiga. Gary?
Rick, I think everybody would like to see what the Amiga does, and I would like to go right into the demo.
Okay, fine. What we see here is what we call the workbench, which is the graphic user interface of the Amiga, and it works in a fashion like other graphics user interfaces. In addition, we also supply a command line interface down here so that people who are more familiar or have applications for command type interfaces can deal with something familiar. Of course, I'm sure that you've heard about the famous graphics and sound of the Amiga, and here's one of our classic demos called the Bouncing Ball.
It's really impressive. Now, Rick, this is an impressive demo, but I want you to tell me why it's impressive. What are we seeing that the computer can do?
Well, what you're seeing is synchronized moving graphics, color graphics, with the sound all at the same time. And in addition to this,
I don't remember the name of that dump truck from yesterday.
According to GTA Wiki, Grand Theft Auto 5 at Davis Courts, east of Sandy Shores, can be found in Redwood Lights Track.
What is Redwood Lights Track, though? Google search results tell me Redwood Lights Track GTA 5. Oh, it's a motocross track.
we still have down here below an application.
I had to change controllers.
So you're running a word processor while you're carrying on this sound graphic.
Yep, and I can correct my typos.
Rick, we've heard a lot about special graphics hardware that's available on Amiga. What basically is behind this?
Well, what's behind this is 25 DMA channels that
You may want to
provide
lower the bouncy ball so we can hear you. Sound.
that provides for all of the graphics rendering functions, the hardware bit all of these controlled by DMA channels so that they don't load down to 68,000. And in fact, in my office, I frequently run a telecommunications application along with word processing while simultaneously doing printing. So I'm sure you're familiar with the popularity of the sidekick type programs, and with the multitasking features of the Amiga, this makes those kinds of things very simple to do.
Okay. Yeah, Tim, I want to get you in this. Electronic Arts is kind of going heavily into writing for Amiga, as I understand it. Tell me, number one, why you're excited about writing for a machine like that.
Well, the first reason is when we started the company 3 years ago, we envisioned a home computer of the future that would support much higher quality audio-visual effects than was possible 3 years ago. And we knew enough about the technology and custom VLSI technology to realize that that was something that was going to happen around this time frame. And when we first saw the Amiga, which was in prototype form about 2 years ago, it was real clear that was a machine that had this kind of potential.
Okay, it looks like Deluxe Paint is up here and running, so is that one of EA's new products for Amiga?
Right, Deluxe Paint is the first in a series of creativity products for the Amiga. Deluxe Paint is a painting program. In addition to all the usual features that you find in a painting program, it's got some unique features.
Are you going to show us what goes on here while Tim talks? That was everything.
Yeah, this, we're still loading up some of these files up, so they'll be up in a moment.
So in addition to someone using Deluxe Paint, this is a creativity tool?
It's a creativity tool. It's unusual in that it has enough features, powerful enough features for a professional user, but also has a lot of simplicity in the way you use it, such that it will be usable by consumers and people in the home.
What other kind of tools would you be coming out with?
Well, as I said, this is the first in a series, all of which will enable data to be exchanged between them. There's a deluxe printing program which will make it very easy to create banners and meeting notices, greeting cards, things like that. There's a deluxe music construction set.
There's going to be a farm shootout here.
Available on the Macintosh.
I don't see anywhere to take cover.
And the last one in this series is Deluxe Video Construction.
What's the name of this place?
Use of the unique video features of the machine to
enable someone to very simply do the video special effects. Okay, what we see here is a rendering of Botticelli's Venus.
Now, is that an original piece of art done on the Amiga or a digitized version?
No, that was done from scratch on the Amiga using this paint program. And
someone knew how to use the program.
Right, this was done by a graphic designer.
Okay.
Here's another piece that was done. This is a picture of King Tut. You'll see here that what Rick's doing is using the menu features of the Amiga to bring in additional drawings. Here's a waterfall that was done, and this actually shows the color cycle animation capabilities in this software. You'll see that when you turn cycle on, that the water's now cycling, creating the effect of a moving waterfall.
And you're doing this by changing the palette colors?
Doing this by changing the color map registers in the hardware.
Rick, briefly, this is very impressive stuff, but people are asking the question, as Gary and I talked about at the beginning of the show, who do you think is going to buy the Amiga? Where do you see it being used?
Well, I think the major strong point of the Amiga is that first and foremost, it's a powerful general-purpose computer. Added onto that is multitasking built in from the beginning. Then we took a look at what are the kinds of constraints that people bump into in trying to get their personal computers to do different things. And those are typically anytime they start to do any graphics, the performance goes away. Anytime they try and do any sound, the performance goes away. So if you want to design a friendly graphics user interface, then the very first thing you start having is performance problems. And with the custom hardware, we've been able to take care of all of that.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much. So we've gotten an introduction to the Commodore Amiga. In just a minute, we'll look at the Atari 520 ST, so stay with us. Joining us now are Brian Kerr, the marketing manager for Atari, and next to Brian, Jim Titzler, a hardware engineer at Atari who helped develop the ST.
Brian, we've seen what the Commodore Amiga can do, so let's show us the 520 ST.
Okay, well the 520 ST has been out for about 4 months now, and as you can see, it's a very graphics-based system as well. The desktop that you're looking at here now is based on the GEM technology, and Jim will show you one feature that we like here, which allows each user to customize their own interface. This is what we refer to as the control panel. It allows you to set your own color palettes, the speed of click for the mouse, the keyboard, bells and keyboard clicks on and off, that type of thing. From there, I'd like to show you some of the sound capability of this product. The 520 ST has a built-in MIDI interface, and I'll let Jim describe this a little further.
MIDI is an emerging industry standard. It's the musical instrument digital interface, and it allows a computer to sequence a series of notes going to a synthesizer. For instance, here we have it connected to a rather elaborate synthesizer that allows us to either play music through the synthesizer or to actually record an artist playing at the keyboard and do the same sorts of things with music that you would do with a word processor. You can time sync the music or transpose it.
Probably ought to mention that there's a synthesizer down at the table here that actually produces music.
Right.
And you're just picking a song file from here, which is going through the synthesizer.
Exactly. We also, internal to the machine, have a 3-voice sound chip, so we can do some sound synthesis. But by building the MIDI interface into the machine, that gives you the ability to spend as much on music as you like. If you're really serious about music, that path for expansion is readily available.
And Jim, that graphic representation we saw was in fact synced to what we're hearing coming out.
Exactly. One of the colors was associated with each of the voices that was being played on MIDI.
We will stress graphics a little bit with the machine. And one of the paint programs that we've developed internally is a program called Neo. And it allows some very elaborate graphic capability like we saw earlier.
And you're pulling that up now?
Yes. This is a collection of some of the images that was created with Neo. Neo is a very powerful drawing package that really takes advantage of the machine, lets you play with the colors and create very nice images.
And so you're transferring those images from the hard disk, right?
Right, directly from the hard disk. Each one of those images is 32,000 bytes, and that was coming directly from the hard disk.
That shows off a feature of the ST, which is the DMA port, which transmits information at 10 megabits per second. That's very high speed, and it's typical of the local area networking speeds of many mini computers. This is Neo in its implementation. With one particular picture. We're just rotating the color palette here.
Okay, now this, what is the price of this machine, basically? What if you were to buy this configuration right here?
The base configuration is with a monochrome monitor, which has a resolution of 640 by 400, which is a little higher than what people are typically used to seeing. Very crisp and solid. That configuration with the 520 ST and one single-sided 3.5-inch drive is retail suggested $799.95.
Okay, how about this whole configuration with the hard disk?
Who are these guys?
Disk drives. I've got a. Well, this is sort of the top end system.
Yeah. Well, I've had difficulty configuring systems.
Let's say what?
Up to the $2,000 range. Because even with the monitor, that system's $999. The hard disk is not out yet, so I can't really speak about price. It will be in the same affordability level that all the other products from Atari are.
Now, where do you see? How do you see the 520 ST getting into the home? What's going to cause people to buy the 520?
Well, first I'd like to just make a distinction, is that we refer to the 520 ST as a personal computer.
Okay.
And we, as a general rule, believe that people determine what computers are used for, whether they're in the home, in the office, in the field, or in business.
Cheetah, you need to eat something.
520 ST is a computer system that is as powerful, if not more powerful, than any other personal computer on the marketplace, but yet it is priced at a consumer level, and I think therein lies the reason for owning a 520 ST.
Okay, what are you up to right now?
I was just demonstrating some of the ease of use, the fact that I can hop from one program to another quite readily using the GEM user interface.
Take this, you can use it in the home, you can use it in business. What have you got here that would show us how to use it in business?
Well, one example is we have a spreadsheet demonstration, which it's very similar in function to some of the popular programs that are available today. It gives us, however, the advantage that we've got the GEM user interface so that it's very easy for a user to, for instance, plot a graph. You don't have to remember a cryptic sequence of commands. You can just get there directly using the mouse.
Is the spreadsheet on the market, Jim?
It's supposed to be shipping very shortly.
It'll be shipping next week, and it also is a Lotus work-alike, so anyone that has worked with Lotus can move directly over here, but yet you have the additional screen capability with the machine.
Now Gary's asked you about the business applications. I want to know if you can show a red and white soccer ball bouncing.
That's easy.
This seems to be the standard demonstration.
Well, it's a good example of graphic animation for the products.
Cheetah eats something.
It has 4 custom chips that were designed by Atari, and it has a great deal of graphics power, but it was designed in such a way that the 68000 still has a great deal of the processor's bus bandwidth. And so the 68000 is capable of doing a great deal of calculation at the same time.
Okay, one final question. How many have you sold so far?
We released numbers at the end of the third quarter that we had shipped over 50,000 units. Now, you have to understand the ST is shipping and it has been introduced worldwide, and we are marketing the product in over 30 countries around the world.
Gentlemen, we've got to go. Both machines very impressive. Of course, one of the questions is, where is the software? We went out and talked to a software developer about that question. Wendy Woods has the report.
When new hardware enters the market, software companies have to make a tough choice. Will they write programs for it? Stoneware, famous for DB Master, had to choose between the Amiga and the Atari ST. They chose the Atari.
Truth is, our decision was not to develop the Amiga right away, in part because the Amiga, when you develop for it, it's very hard to use your development investment for other machines. With the ST, it's much easier.
The success of Stoneware's filing program, which will be marketed under the Atari Soft label, of course depends on the success of the Atari ST. They're betting that the low-cost machine will sell, and the company's management will sell it.
And if you're out on
That'd be a dump truck, but can that actually be towed though?
I certainly wouldn't bet against them.
Stoneware realizes there are big risks, but the company is
Can that
not
really be
a risk
towed?
taker. Stoneware wrote the first serious
That's
business
perfect.
software for the Apple and the Macintosh.
This is even better than
Hundreds of thousands of
the one from
programs
yesterday.
they've already shipped are testimony
They're
that
great,
they made
though.
the right choice. In the case of the ST, Stoneware expects the machine's revolutionary low price will make it a big seller. Stoneware eventually plans to make software for the Commodore Amiga, but for
That'll
now,
lock.
they'll concentrate on
Hits
the
lock.
Atari ST products.
And that,
Certainly, getting in there
Group-
first with low-price
Group
software
6.
for a low-price machine will pay off.
Like the Group 6 logo, and it's a pitch lock.
Joining us us now is Louis Moore, president of
Cheetah going to be needing that that thing. I don't think there are a hitch on this.
Research and creative strategies.
There'll be a hitch.
Sell both the 520 ST and the Commodore.
There'll be a hitch right there.
And we've seen a price that goes from $800
So that not the right type.
as Brian said, for configurations of the 520. What is a comparable price, say, for an Amiga?
Well, the basic system for the Amiga is $12.95. But you have to put a monitor on it, and to take it up to 512K with those two things, you're at $19.85.
I need a
customer response
big rig to pull that.
Because the price range, or they're comparing them directly.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
But we're also seeing people seeing them as two different systems. I think they're both going to do fine.
Well, what do you hear from the consumers when they walk in and look at the two side by side? You're one of the few dealers that has both of them in your store.
Well, we hear a range of comments. One is that the Amiga has a lot more features, but it's not worth twice the price to most people. We are also seeing quite a few customers who came in intending to buy a less expensive system or one that's comparably priced, like a Commodore 128.
There'll be some smaller
Tim, one of the
container
trying to
things.
find the market for these two machines. I mean, isn't it a classic game machine? Is it really a business computer? Where do you see these machines being sold?
Well, the Atari...
They're red car on the radar.
Image in the past, it is looking more towards a home game entertainment market rather than a business crossover. Whereas the Commodore, though Commodore has had a strong background in the same area,
Here you're resting?
with its PC
I thought I told you to go after your mother.
emulation as it does, has the possibility of crossing over both the home, high-end home specifically because of its price, and possibly even getting that small business market that we're just beginning to see emerge.
Tim, you brought up the point of the IBM emulation. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my understanding, and I'm watching the demonstration on it, is that it makes the 8080 or the 68000 chip believe it's an 8088, and it does it through an emulation process in software. Unfortunately, by doing it that way, it is very, very slow. And it is our assumption that the best way, of course, to do that would be to go to a hardware interface, and perhaps someday Commodore Amiga will do that as well.
Lou, apart from the
She could be going to that red car on the radar.
how are they positioned versus the other machine? Is Amiga really going up against Mag? Is that how buyers are receiving this?
Quite a bit, yeah. But also we're seeing new buyers, really, who haven't purchased computers before and have been thinking about it. And now that it's here, they're coming in to look. There's a lot of interest. There's been a lot of press on the machine. And so we get 20 or 30 calls a day on it. We have waiting lists for it. And it's gotten a great deal of attention from people who weren't in the market.
Now, if you take could kind of characterize a consumer of a computer system like this, what is it they really want when they walk in the store? They look at this and they say, well, we really like to have, what is it?
Well, in the early life cycle of this product and the ST as well, you get mostly people right now who are enamored of the hardware, and because there's not much you can do with it as of today. And then we're getting people who know the software that's coming out and are interested in it. And the MS-DOS part is important to people too.
Tim, we have just about a half a minute left. What about the software? You think it's going to be there for both these machines?
Well, our survey right now with software dealers is that there's a wait-and-see attitude. They see that both machines have potential. They are looking at both companies' financial positions, which have been somewhat rocky over the last year, and they're waiting to see what will happen after the first of the year. If the channels begin to open up and they begin to see the distributors having a demand, the machines can be delivered on a timely basis, then the software guys will start following suit. But it's still a wait-and-see game from that standpoint.
That'd be a submarine.
We've seen two very impressive machines today. Of course, the question is, will they make it in the marketplace? We asked our commentator, George Morrow, for his thoughts.
Will either or both of these innovative machines be successful? Well, the Mindset computer was also innovative and had excellent graphics, but fell flat in its face. However, these machines are linked with one of the magic names in this business, Jack Tramiel. He started Commodore and salvaged Atari. The mention of Tramiel stirs strong emotions within
Did that be a baller there?
His power in the marketplace is legion. He is second only to IBM in the ability to establish de facto standards. He is the major reason
that do be a
the
baller.
public is willing to give these two machines a chance. But a computer is never more successful than the software written which exploits its potential. And while much of the existing software can be ported to these machines, that in itself is no reason to go out and buy either. There is today three major operating environments occupying the energies of programmers. Two 2 from Apple and 1 from IBM.
Landed right on top.
The available pool of software
Right on top of the car that grenade landed.
to support even one more operating system, let alone 2. That's how I see it. I'm George Morrow.
That really do be a submarine right there.
In the random access file this week, an encouraging report, if you're a consumer, that software prices are going to fall. Several industry executives and analysts are predicting price cuts for all kinds of software, from games to business packages. The DataQuest report says there are now 27,000 software programs on the market, with a new product being introduced every 11 minutes. One New York analyst predicted that software prices could fall by as much as 50% by next year. A company called Cozen Systems of Connecticut has introduced a new product called SoftScript.
The submarine disappeared.
Or program information on ordinary paper. These scripts can then be read by a scanner directly into a computer. Cozen says 17 magazines and text publishers will soon be including the SoftScripts in their publications. That means you can just slip the page into a scanner and enter the data or program directly into your computer. Desktop publishing was one of the hot topics at the recent cont'd show. Some vendors were showing complete personal publishing systems for under $10,000, and there were also new laser printers for under $2,000. And you know PC publishing must be hot when in today's climate, 2 new magazines have just been introduced on the subject, desktop publishing and personal publishing. Time now for this week's software pitch.
I can't believe the submarine disappeared.
When I was a kid, if you wanted to buy and sell things, you did it on a Monopoly board. We used to play for days on end. Eventually, it got a little dull because you always knew the prices, and eventually you got to know Community Chest and Chance pretty well, too. Well, since greed is such a fundamental human emotion, it was only a matter of time before a trading game came to the world of personal computing. It's here. Its name is Wizard of Wall Street. This program has a great opening screen. You begin each month of trading with research and a review of your net worth. It's interesting that new research costs money, but old research reports are free. You can buy and sell, or, for the esoteric, there are puts, calls, and options. This is a real-time game with a news ticker and a stock ticker. If you don't execute your trade fast enough, prices change, and you make or lose money pretty fast. If you panic, you can freeze the trading day to give yourself time to think about things. Wizard of Wall Street was written by Multisoft of San Rafael, California, and is distributed by Synapse Software. The program offers a lot of fun for $45. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Paul Schindler.
The Japanese company Ricoh has introduced a fascinating new product called the Write Board. It's an electronic blackboard, it's actually white, that automatically captures whatever is written on the board and saves it in a computer.
Cheetah going to go look for a cargo bob and pick up a big rig and take it to that dump trailer.
Update file, the United States, Japan, and Canada have agreed to eliminate most tariffs on computer parts and peripherals. The American trade representative to the negotiations said the agreement would lower costs in the U.S. and save the industry about $172 million a year. A major computer problem at the Bank of New York last week held up the delivery of $25 billion in government securities. The computer problem forced a large overnight loan from the Federal Reserve Bank and temporarily drove federal fund interest rates down when reserves rose after securities were not delivered. The transfer of securities is done almost exclusively by computer, with no actual paper transactions. This was reported to be the biggest computer snafu ever in the federal banking system. Finally, if you own a new Buick Riviera, you are the proud owner of 10 computer systems hidden inside your car. 1986 Riviera's computer system takes over the functions of 91 controls and gauges found on conventional cars.
Is this about video games or not?
Presented on a touch-sensitive computer screen, and when you take the car
Oh, it's almost over.
the mechanic simply plugs your computer into his computer, and the car's system.
What the hell? From January 1985.
times these days with closeout sales, discount prices just about everywhere. But what about computer games? Well, as computers have gotten better, computer games have gotten better too. Vastly improved graphics, much more sophisticated text handling, and much greater speed. We'll take a look at some of the newest and hottest computer games next on the Computer Chronicles.
Is brought to you in part by McGraw-Hill, publishers of Popular Computing, the magazine that gives readers an understanding of the technology and applications of microcomputers and software in office, home, and classroom.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee. This is Gary Kildall, and the subject obviously is games, Gary. And I bet you've seen some pretty swift computer chess games before, but I want to show you this one. This game not only has good computer logic in it, but as you can see, it moves the pieces all by itself. It can even play both sides if it wants to all by itself. Computer games kind of drove the early personal computer revolution. And some people are saying that computer games as a part of the market is kind of dying now. Do you think that's the case?
Well, looks this game, the game player is a dying breed.
You don't need us to do that.
Don't need to be here to play it. But, no, sir, I think what's happened is the market has settled down to a group of dedicated game players, and those game players expect fairly sophisticated video games.
Well, we're going to see some pretty sophisticated games. We're going to meet the premier chess programmer, Kathy Spreckler of Sargon. We'll meet one of the hottest new games, Millionaire. We'll go into the mysteries of the new adventure games. And you know, the graphics demands of the computer games are so great that programmers are now turning to the animators who used to work for Disney. We have a report.
The art of animation grew up alongside the early motion picture industry. Based on storyboards, character development, and a detailed script, it was a repetitive and time-consuming process. But today, much of the task can be computer-assisted, and that has great potential for the computer game field. This game designer can dream up a character, give him a personality, lifelike moves, and quickly bring his paper sketches to life on the screen. With a light pen, an artist can adjust each pixel on the screen to give his character the most fluid movements. All of the elements of the game, from action to background, can be drawn on a graphics pad, tested, and changed instantly. To create an explosion, the animator first determines the shape and the size of the blast, and then builds a sequence. After checking the result, he can place it precisely within the scene. But in spite of electronic aids, the present-day game designer is still faced with a monumental challenge: to transfer the personality of an invented character from the full-size drawing pad to the tiny pixels on a video screen. To accomplish this takes finesse and detail. For example, when the hero is introduced, his movements are quick and bold. But when faced with adversity, his mood reflects it, and he slinks away with slumping shoulders. To most players, this may not seem like a major step forward, but it closely resembles the methods used to make traditional animation lifelike. The more plastic and fluid the movement, the more realistic the action. How much of this realism can be transferred to the electronic game board remains to be seen.
I'd like to introduce you now to Kathy Spreckler, the writer of Sargon, and Jim Super of Blue Chip Software, creators of Millionaire. Gary.
Kathy, you know, one of the amazing things about chess games is it seems like it was 15 or 20 years ago that chess programming on a big computer system was a major research topic. And then one day I walked into Macy's and saw a little chess program in a tiny little Ford. What had to cause that to take place anyway?
Obviously, the microcomputer revolution, the existence of a single-chip computer. I guess it's like a new mountain sprung up in the world. All the mountain climbers would rush to it. There's a new processor out there. You've got to see what it's capable of doing.
But it seems like there's a lot of work or a lot of programming would have to go into just the strategies that take place inside of a chess game. What is the basic way that you construct a chess program?
Okay, yes, there is a lot of work that goes on to it. What you have to do, like any big project, you have to break it down into manageable steps. And we divide it up into move generation, How do you get the machine to understand what is a pawn move, what is a queen move? Then you have to have evaluation. Now that you can make moves, which moves are good moves, which moves are bad moves. And that gets you into the whole concept of search, look ahead, which is another whole topic. How to make it as fast as possible so you can see as far ahead as possible. And then there's another whole realm which has to do with graphics displays and user features. How do you let the human being get into the programs?
Okay, in the case of the Mac, now you've got a very graphical interface, obviously. Was that quite a change in that?
It was, but it was delightful. You know, it was like presenting the kid with a mountainous ice cream sundae. It was everything you ever wanted and a computer never had before. Between the...
Show us how you used the Mac, in fact, to augment Sargon.
Okay, well, the first thing, the most obvious thing, is how do you make your moves in the computer? When we were dealing with older generation machines, you had to type in coordinates that represented the squares of the board, like E2, E4 for a pawn move. Now you simply take this little cursor, it looks like a crosshair, position it over the piece that you want to press, let it go where you want to move it. And Sargon responds by flashing these up.
And it actually does record the code.
Yes, if you still want to see the move list, you can get recorded there. If you like, you can print it as a file. You can print the move list if you want to do that. All of the features that are...
Well, it certainly makes it a lot simpler to use, a lot easier to see what's going on.
Yeah, all the features you can get at just with the press of a mouse button. In fact, aside from naming your game, that's the only time you ever need to touch the keyboard.
Now, how does a game like this fare in terms of playing a good chess player? Does it do well?
It beats the app, the majority of tournament chess players, and it just absolutely the vast majority of casual chess players. A world champion would have no difficulty with the game whatsoever. A chess master could probably play it 100 games in a row, and it might surprise it, win one game or something. The master might win all the
time. Did you win the game pretty well because you know all the corners?
I have to set it on its lowest level. You can set levels based on time. If I put it on 5 seconds move, and if I select this little thing called easy play, then I can beat it.
You went from Sargon to Sargon 2 to Sargon 3. What were the improvements? How was it better chess?
Each edition of Sargon involved a total rewrite of the chess playing algorithm. Each version of the program had approximately a times 10 or better speed improvement, which translates directly into a play enhancement. The big thing that a user of Sargon 2 would notice compared to Sargon 3, Sargon 2 played a fine game of chess if you were patient. If you were willing to wait 2 or 3 minutes a move, you got a fine game of chess. Sargon 3 gives you that same game of chess at 5 or 10 seconds.
I understand that this is a husband-wife team.
That's right.
So the programming is concerned. That's good. Jim, I want to get you in here, and you're not the husband. But you've got Millionaire, which also is especially tailored to take advantage of the Mac features. So introduce us to Millionaire.
Well, basically, Millionaire is a stock market simulation. And as I was mentioning before we went on, the way I got into this was I'd made a few $1,000s doing some consulting work and invested it in stock options. And over the course of a year, had a great time, learned an awful lot about stock options, and also lost half the money. Just about that time, the IBM personal computer was coming on the market. There was great speculation over the kind of person that would buy that computer. An upwardly mobile person very concerned about their own personal well-being and their personal net worth. And I decided that, gee, why don't I take the experiences that I just learned in the stock market and apply it to a computer game that would kind of specifically tailored to the kind of individual that would buy the IBM personal computer.
Tell us how, in using Mac, you were able to make Millionaire such an effective game.
Basically, the original version of Millionaire on the IBM was structured in a kind of a hierarchy of menus. It's a pretty traditional way to write a computer program. And unfortunately, in the real world, when you want to invest in the stock market, you want to look at all kinds of information at the same time. And about 6 months before the Mac came out, Apple came to us and said, gee, we'd like to make sure that Millionaire is available on the Macintosh. And we were very excited about it. As a coincidence, 2 days after Apple came to us, I got a call from a programmer that had spent the past year programming the Macintosh for Pete Marwick Mitchell. So suddenly, in 2 days, we had a programmer with a year's experience and a product, and we were ready to go.
Show us how you play this.
First thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up the save game, and in about 10 seconds, you'll see the central strain of millionaire. Basically, you can invest in 15 stocks in 5 industry groups, and everything you can do in the real world, you can do in millionaire.
Does that make you a better investor?
It will not make you rich. We bang away at that time and time again. The feedback we get from our customers is they say, my gosh, the stupid mistakes that I didn't make because I played your game first. Millionaire provides you with that fundamental knowledge that gets you the courage to go out and invest.
Okay, Jim, just a little time left. We have a basic screen up here.
We have the basic screen up here. Basically, here's how you play a game of millionaire. I say, gee, let's buy Dow Jones stock. I click on Dow. Come over here. Get a description of Dow Jones. Learn a little bit about the history of the company. Gee, what's it all about? Next thing we do.
And this is based on fact, though.
Based on fact. We come and take a look at how the stock market in general is performing. The stock market looks like it's going up. We take a look at how the heavy industry group's doing. It seems to be going up. Let's take a look at Dow Chemical. Dow's going up. Let's go ahead and buy a little bit of Dow Chemical. Let's flip the keyboard over here. Now let's go ahead and buy 3,000 shares of Dow Chemical. And if you'll notice, we'll get a transaction report just like you get from your broker. Commission and the whole works. Now we're going to move over and we're going to clean up the desktop a little bit. It will allow me to do that. Now, what we're going to do next, we're going to move ahead of it. Gee, what happens when we move ahead of it to the price of our stock? Before we do that,
how do you do in the first week?
How do we do in the first week? And this is the beauty of millionaire. What I can do is I can bring down my stock portfolio. I can shrink it up a little bit. I can bring down a graph of the stock price. Let's get the graph. And I can scroll the graph. Horizontal scrolling. Shrink it up something like this. How about that? We'll move it over here. Now we'll bring down news reports. The game actually has newspaper reports from the Wall Street Journal and Barron's. And as you go forward each week, you'll see news reports.
This really shows the power of the graphical interface.
Macintosh is a very, very powerful computer. Now what we'll do...
I'm going to have to interrupt you because you don't have time to see the rest of it. It's tempting. That is all that is. Some of the hot games this year, of course, the adventure games, and we're going to take a look at some of the most impressive adventure games in just a moment. Joining us now is David Crane, a software designer, one of the original founders of Activision, writer of Pitfall and now Ghostbusters, and also David Leblanc, a game designer with Infocom and the co-author of the Zork series. Now, before we get to play Zork and take a look at Ghostbusters, the program, you're probably familiar with other movies like Star Wars and Raiders, which had spectacular special effects. Well, some of that same technology is being adapted now for computer games by director George Lucas. Wendy Woods has a report.
Welcome to Lucasfilm. For the sake of security, we can't tell you exactly where we are, but I can tell you that this is where programmers have virtually free hands in employing state-of-the-art technology in video game design. Rescue on Fractalus is one of the first 2 games from the movie company. The player sees his or her point of view and a world where space, form, mass, and velocity are true to life. This is accomplished in part by use of a geometrical formula called the fractal.
What the fractals do is it takes the altitude at various points on the terrain, and then it uses a repeatable technique for randomly generating the cragginess or rocky edges that connect these points of altitude.
Artist Gary Winnick designed the amusing and surprising creatures in the game. Bullblazer is a kind of space-age hockey with 2 players' points of view. You'll notice the edges on the playing field diagonals are smooth. That's called anti-aliasing, or blending 5 different colors at certain grid points. Lucasfilm designers took a year to complete both these games.
I'm going to have a marketing organization really get our necks saying we have to get this done in 3 weeks or something. And rather than worrying about that part, we just told do the best you can do something which is new, which really pushes art of video games and new technology as far as you can make it.
The designer's next games will be for the newest low-end computers. You can be sure the entire industry will be watching. For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Wendy Woods.
Well, Stuart, before we get into another movie here, Ghostbusters, it looks real interesting. I'm anxious to see what this looks like.
I'd like to talk to David a little bit about adventure games. And what is an adventure game and what makes it so interesting for people? It's in the world right now we're going to graphics a lot, and it seems to be based in words.
Well, the wonderful thing about an adventure game that's based on words, of course, is that your brain probably can do a much better job creating pictures than the computer can with today's technology. And so our games are all text. You interact with the computer in words, and the computer spits words back out at you. And so there are no pictures at all, except the ones in your head, which are the best.
Now, these are the kind of games that, mostly, I guess, kids play with, and they go through different branching schemes, and every point you get a chance to go north, south, east, and west, and so forth. So are these games getting more sophisticated now? Who's writing it? By authors?
They're definitely getting more sophisticated. I wouldn't even say that they mostly play much shorter anymore. We have people from ages 8 on up. As soon as you can understand the words, you can play it. It doesn't necessarily fade with age. A lot of adults enjoy playing that. And I guess what I'd say about the idea of branching is that it's more than just branching, because it would be a very, very fuzzy branching thing if it wasn't branching. It's got directions, it's got verbs, and the verbs can be very complicated. You can say things like things with direct objects and indirect objects. You can talk to other characters. You can ask fairly complicated questions like, where were you on the night of the murder? And so it's more than just a simple branching scheme. It's really fairly complicated computer program.
Now, David, to confirm what you said about the age, by the way, I'm very absorbed in all your other stuff, unfortunately. But I remember playing the old Scott Adams adventure game, Going North, or Drop Box, and it's come such a long way now to sort of things. And what has allowed that difference, and how did it get started?
Well, one reason we got better, I think, is that Infocom at least has an extremely good development system and an extremely good parser built into the program. And the parser can understand very complex sentences. The more complex the sentence you can understand, the more complicated and more exciting the action of the game can be.
Okay, David Crane, let's turn to the other side now of games here, from an adventure game with no graphics, and your kind of thing, which is loaded with graphics. First of all, of course, you were most well known for Pitfall, I guess, which was a video game, cartridge type thing primarily. Do you think computer games are kind of going to go the way of video games, or is this a different animal that interests them all the time?
Well, there are going to be several different classifications of games going forward, such as adventure games, there are strategy games, action games, arcade games. One of the most difficult aspects of the industry right now is categorizing games, because everything crosses into other categories. Ghostbusters as a computer game is an action game, but unlike action games in the past, which took place on one screen, one pretty picture, there are so many different aspects to the game. In this game, you're starting a franchise with bank money, and several different screens where you plot courses through the city streets, and you drive through the city streets. Once you get there, you have to catch the ghosts. If you miss, they can slime you. It's on and on and on. And
can we see here some of Ghostbusters?
Okay. Well, to begin with, the game begins with a screen which has no playability. It's a title page, and if you watch for a little bit, we'll find a little bouncing ball comes along the screen, and you can sing along with the game. If you don't feel like singing along, or if you don't have a crowd in your living room to yell Ghostbusters at the appropriate time, the machine will do that for you. Okay.
When you hit the space bar.
When you hit the space bar.
I understand it took you as long to write this opening frames as the rest of the game. Is that true?
No, that's not really true. It's something that I wanted to have in the game, and I didn't do it until the last week, actually, of the project, because it's more important to me that the game plays correctly and that all the details are in it. But something like this is an added feature that I like to provide to the consumer.
Now, David, let me ask you, computer games have been very innovative with the Zork type things, Pitfall. Computer games have kind of led the way. Does it concern you that we're now kind of repackaging movies? I mean, has the game business now gotten to the movie business and pop music?
Not in my opinion. it's been attempted many times before to make games out of movies and any kind of merchandising you can name. In fact, this game began before the movie Ghostbusters as a game of in a very similar fashion, driving through the city streets, doing something once you get to building the center. But it was a game which was looking for a theme at the time. And when Activision and Columbia Pictures got together, I saw this as an opportunity to lend a theme to a game. But it's a game that people have told me they would enjoy playing whether there was a Ghostbusters name on it or not. So
I'm just kind of attracted because can we go home with friends? I want to play this.
Okay. Well, I have just told them that I don't have an account number. If I had an account number, I could start with the same amount of money I ended the game with last time. It's a nice feature, allows you to build upon your account. But once I have bought my Ghostbusters franchise with bank money, I'm going to have to have some equipment to work with. So I buy a car and begin to equip it with my little forklift. Okay. Buy a little ghost bait, a ghost vacuum. These are basically just comic items because the game was a comedy. But you do have to have this equipment to play the game. So once I have a fully equipped car, I look at the city map screen. I have Ghostbusters headquarters right below me and the Temple of Zul in the middle of the screen. But I see a flashing block which says there's a ghost to catch. We've got a job to do here. Now I'm able to drive through the city streets. This will come in handy later as I suck up roaming ghosts in my ghost vacuum. But here's my Slimer. So I must set down a trap, keeping one man and point his streamer, another man here. When the ghost is between the streams, I'll catch him. Got him. Okay. Energize the trap.
You need something?
My men jump up and down for joy and the crowd yells.
Okay, that's it. We have just a little bit of time. Okay. What do you see as the next challenge in the adventure games?
I think the next challenge is probably more sophistication. Moving away from straight puzzle solving, you have to get this there, and into something that is a little more sophisticated, something that can do a real plot of a real novel. What we have now is sort of a short story kind of a format. More sophistication will come as we have more sophisticated parsers and programs to do it with.
Well, I'm looking forward to more adventure games, and certainly playing Ghostbusters. Now, computer games, and I guess adventure games in particular, are not only a computer phenomenon, they're almost a social phenomenon. Our commentator, Paul Schindler, has some thoughts on that.
I'm playing Candyland with my daughter. It's a good game for improving her color identification and her verbal skills. It's a nice way to while away the time, and I'm using it to teach her not to cheat. How many computer games can make statements like that? Now, listen, I know computer games have the good side. I've reviewed some in the software segment, and I'm going to review more in the future. But in today's commentary, I want to ask you to consider the social effects of replacing other kinds of games with computer games. Now, let me give you an example. I cover conventions in Las Vegas a couple of times a year, and I play blackjack when I'm there. You can play it with a computer, or you can play it with people. Now, not surprisingly, I prefer to play it with people. You get more interaction, you learn more about the game. It's going to be a long time before computers can offer us that kind of interaction. Well, you may say, board games don't offer as much interaction as playing, and that's true. But before we take the next step to even less interaction with computer games, I just think we ought to consider what we're doing. Because you're going to lose more than just a rocket ship on the screen. You're going to lose human interaction. That's my opinion. I'm Paul Schindler.
Random access file this week. Lots of news on the lap portable front. First of all, Grid Systems, known as the Porsche lap portables, has come up with a whole new line of lap portables, starting at about half the price of the original Grid Compass.
That's not about video games, though.
Grid liners that you can pick the kind of screen you want.
Oh, it's the end of the video again.
Readability versus power consumption. The new Grid machines go from traditional hard-to-read LCD screens all the way up to a new plasma display with red characters on a black background. While Ericsson Computers is out with a new plasma display portable, it weighs a go at 15 pounds, and K-Pro is in... Software companies beta test their serious business programs. What about game software? How do they work the bugs out of those? Well, in groups just like this one, here at EBI Software in Boston City, California. Designers and testers bang away at keyboards, joysticks, and mice to make sure the games work just right. Each R&D that goes into game design is often just as complicated as what goes into a serious business program. Today we continue our two-part look at game software on this edition of the Computer Chronicle.
I suppose that is the end of the stream.
Remember asteroids? As the rocks flying through space, the kids have learned about gravitational effects or the hands-on physics in a sense. Flight simulators learn about flying. But, you know, I've got hands-on experience at home that tells me the kids can't OD on these things too.
Gary, we're going to take a look at some of the hottest new games for two machines, the Macintosh and the IBM PC. Among them, Chuck Yeager's Advanced Flight Trainer, a helicopter simulation called Apache Strike, and one to have a golf game called E18. Now, as Gary said, computer games can be educational. We're going to start